Not a lot anymore.
Yeah, what did
But
you used to play?
so yeah, I played all kinds of stuff. I was into like Battlefields and stuff. I played
Mm-hmm.
Valorant.
Valorant.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, and then I guess like in high school. Sorry, I'll record this as well, just in case
Yeah,
I want
of
to mess
course.
something up.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, in high school I did rugby and football and team sports like that, and then I'm trying to think. I've mostly been playing like single player games as of late, so um, it's hard to remember. It's just yeah, with team based games usually there's a lot more like interaction. Oh, I played a lot of what's it called, Rainbow Six Siege.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it was stuff like that, and then like Call of Duty and Battlefield. But sometimes those
Okay.
feel more like solo games rather than team based.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm sure you playing Valorant. You're aware of Overwatch.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a big debate right now in Overwatch of 5 versus 6 versus 6.
Okay, interesting.
And it's actually really fucking fascinating because I even think that debate alone is literally just like, because it's literally like the whole like premise is like what is the best way to go move forward that saves Overwatch, or I would think saves Christianity or saves America. That's actually a deep philosophical thing. And then what form of warfare are we using to arrive at the conclusion of, yeah, we should absolutely do 5 versus 5, or we should absolutely do 6 versus 6. And here's all the reasoning as to why, which is gets all into this complicated steps of critical thinking and how to perform cost benefit analysis. But yeah, one of the guys I just met, I was making him a supplement list because he is an alcoholic. He has a lot of. I'm trying to not. I don't know how to care for exactly everything for him, like what I can and cannot say, other than like he was in the Marines. Definitely watched friends friends die in the battlefield. So he has a lot of demons that I think are feeding the alcohol thing. I just made him a supplement list of, because he's been attempting suicide lately. And I specifically have, I was in the Navy. I've never dealt with the specific things that he has. I have been there many, many times over the last 30 years, and I haven't had a best friend. I've had severe loneliness crisis. And this is why one of the reasons I've been so passionate about solving this problem. Like my 10 out of 10, like, so if all the work you will ever see me do, I've ever presented you thus far, any of the ideas, my 10 out of 10 motivation, of course, my 9 out of 10 is to try and do the work that all the amazing thought leaders before us have ever done. Anyone, Socrates, Plato, whoever it is, the better ideas got us here, and it's even better ideas that are going to move us forward. So I'm just trying to do my part. I don't give a fuck about my ego. I only care about truth. I just think like that's the most complicated thing, like how we establish that. But anyways, that my 10 out of 10 moral foundation is to save my own kids. I have a beautiful little girl. I can send you a picture, but she's sitting right next to me. She's playing Roblox on her iMac.
Oh, that's adorable.
She's 8. She's 8. We used to play Fortnite together. And like, so some of the avenues and we're using, I get like the whole game theory thing and prisoner's dilemma and team environments and team game environments. The reason I ask this, and I say it's so key, is because I truly believe to a really high degree, I'm not being hyperbolic, we can actually use these things to save the world, because we can literally come up with, how does the team environment reach the same goals? Are they working together as a team to reach the same goals, and they're using the same standard to do that, or are they absolutely not? So they like it and it literally goes into like even like metaphorical Catholic orthodoxies, where you have a metaphorical Catholic priest is the leader, and can the leader be questioned? You know, or are you never? And if the leader ever ascribes anyone in the group is the villain, are all their ideas on beyond the wall of taboo, and then you're never allowed to agree with the villain. And then and that's just one of the recurring things I feel like I can show everywhere. So like one of my main arguments more recently is that just looking at the last 2 months of Destiny's debates and the relitigation of those, I can show those things happening, as well as like any reality TV show. I watch a lot of the more popular ones, and I can show the exact same thing there. That things that are happening in our political left versus right, there's a lot of differences, but there are things that are legitimately exactly the same of how we're going about that, how the argumentation is going, how we're talking past one another, and we're not able to reach a threshold of agreement. But anyways, I'm sorry, man. It's a lot to unpack.
No,
I get it.
no, that was it's yeah, that was nice to hear. Well, some of it was a little sadder than the rest, but no, it was yeah, that's all super interesting. I guess it kind of aligns with what I was trying to do a little bit. Like like my channel, the first video I made was just on the carbon tax, because I was like, why don't people understand the carbon tax here in Canada? And so I was just like, hey, like I just kind of want to add my voice to that thing and be like, nobody seems to like understand the fundamentals of it, that this isn't like because a lot of what Canada was doing was like, this is killing the cost of affordability, this is destroying like the Canadian way of life. And yeah, like I think it definitely plays into a lot of what you're talking about, how there's these teams, there's all of these kind of biting interests kind of going at each other, right? And I tried my best to be like, hey, like the carbon tax kind of helps a lot of people, but the issue is that you're taking a negative now for less negative in the future, and that seems really, really hard to convince people of. But yeah,
Yes.
otherwise,
Yeah.
I think I generally, well, yeah, I think I would agree with you. I just like, I don't have the, I guess like, I don't know if it's a sociology background or like a background in all of that. And so my debate style has always been like, if you're going to give me a whole bunch of points, I'm going to research every single one of those points that you've given me. I'm going to look at the information. I really do just care about like, what is the, like how accurate are those points? Is it true, et cetera, et cetera. So when I did my carbon tax debate, it was really easy because the guy gave me his like blog post about all of his positions. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was
That's
like,
awesome.
wait, you pulled this chart from this, and this is what the authors said. You pulled this data point from this guy who said he believes in the carbon tax. Right? You said you don't believe in government paid scientists who make 70 grand a year, but you believe this scientist who's paid by the fossil fuel industry millions of dollars a year, right? Like I was like, so that was way easier. And then when me and Soyotl did our debate, we gave each other all of our references and stuff like that. And then I made a series of videos, and I would argue that my position. Yeah.
There were 2 different debates you just referenced. Is that correct?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 different
You're fine.
debates.
You're fine. Just making sure. Just being clear. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, the first one was just carbon tax in Canada, and basically, once like the guy gave it away in his blog post of like what his actual, I guess, core values are, and his core values are the government is bad. He doesn't like globalization. He doesn't like any of these things. So when you try to fit carbon taxes into this, well, the WEF supports carbon taxes. The globalized West supports carbon taxes. The current government in charge supports carbon taxes. So there's like, it goes against his core values so strongly that he just engages in this like insane amount of motivated reasoning to justify why it is. It's similar. I was never able to put words to it, but I remember having this conversation I read the entire Quran to argue with a Muslim friend of mine.
You wait. You read the entire Quran? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Go on.
And I read the entire Quran and then a bunch of books on evolution to try to show him that like evolution was real. And I basically got him to the point where he said, well, the Quran only says that humans were created by God, so I guess animals could have evolved, but humans were still molded from clay. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of take this as a win. But again, that gets back to like the core value. His core value is like the Quran is the perfect word of God. So if you kind of like his positions,
Oh man.
like if you knock down his positions, it's not really relevant. Yeah.
You reading the Quran was to meet him where he was because he was making high level substantive claims from the Quran. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's meeting them where they are, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then same with Soyotl. That one was a lot simpler because we ended up having a lot of the same references. It just seemed that we viewed it in different directions, and I think we well, I'd say he definitely changed my position more than I changed any of his. His happiness and excitement towards nuclear is very contagious, I would say. So that was really nice to see. This is obviously going to the final debate, and that one was I saw as different than a debate because I like Destiny's position on establishment versus anti-establishment, where someone like Buck, the guy I debated for carbon taxes, is on the anti-establishment side, but because me and Soyotl are on the establishment side, we were able to actually find a lot more common ground, agree on the same sources, agree on a lot of the same positions, and be reading from the same sort of text, and then just working our way to find the solution. Because at the end of the day, me and Soyotl want the exact same thing, which is a world where we're able to decarbonize at the lowest cost possible. And I mean, you reviewed the debate, so you can you can say what you think. But that was a culmination of, I think it was like June until whenever the debate was in July, or it might have been May. It might have been May to July. So it was like a 2-month culmination of us going back and forth, starting off probably slightly worse, and then becoming
I'm just writing
more
down.
cordial.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just writing down
Yeah.
notes of our convo.
Yeah.
As well as like, here's like the main document I'm like working on. The thing's got how many pages is it? 56. Here's an outline, and it's so fucking hard for me to stick to an outline. It's so hard. It feels like every time I make almost just one statement, I need like so much exposition. And where am I writing that down? Am I just going off the fly with that to then show people's examples? And then I've got media to analyze. Like, here's Destiny's debates and the different relitigation of those debates between all the some of the more recent ones. Here I'm trying to write down like this different, I call it a Pell standard. Destiny refers to it as an epistemic standard. So I'm trying to write down like either immediate solutions, or here are the problems of where we're avoiding the other person's arguments, doing any of these different things down here. But yeah, there's just a lot to go over.
Yeah. Well, and that I mean, yeah. And then I guess the last debate in quotes I had was was the one in my own Discord where the guy frustrated me enough that I was like, okay, like, you're obviously engaging in bad faith, because he was, again, his kind of moral and starting position was that immigration is bad. And I was trying to be like, hey, like, there's a whole bunch of gray area. There's a whole bunch of like like positives and negatives and all kinds of things. Like, we have to like balance those to the best of our ability, right? There isn't just some straight up like good or bad, but the guy was an actual racist, basically. There's a lot of Indian Canadians in Canada, and
self-described, or your judgment?
That would be my judgment.
Okay.
To him saying things like, just read their names without any other context. So he like the names were all East Indian descent, and so his implication was, because the names are East Indian descent, it doesn't really matter if they're second generation or first generation, they're foreigners. And that was kind of gross to me to and it was things like that where he said like, whose wombs do they come from? Were like the like actual wording that he used for them, and I was like, I don't know what other word to describe this other than like a prejudice or some sort of racism, which isn't something I would levy super often unless it was like justified, because a lot of people are able to be more tongue-in-cheek with their positions, and especially with immigration in Canada, it seems to be overly blamed, and then it takes the blame away from actual problems, right? And that's what I was trying to get at with the guy, is that like, hey, there's like positives to immigration, but a lot of the problems that you're talking about actually aren't the fault of immigration. They're the fault of all these other structural issues. But you are so hell-bent on getting rid of immigration that we're kind of missing the problem here, where immigration actually supports a lot of the solutions we have, like our housing crisis, where immigrants fill skilled labor shortages, and it's going to be one of the most important aspects if we want to rapidly build infrastructure here in Canada to make up the ground on all of this lost time that we've had, nearly a lost decade of economic kind of growth per capita. So anyway, that's a bit of a tangent.
No, seriously, like nothing's actually a tangent to me. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like seriously, go anywhere to anything ever, and it's just all the fucking same story. It's the same goddamn story. Go to a scripted television show, scripted movie, and it's the same fucking story over and over and over again. So like even here, if I were to now try and go through and defend any of the motivations out of, you know, the person that you were ascribing to is to be a racist that isn't self-described racist, we have to see this extremely strong thing that's like everywhere, that I feel like everyone's measuring guilt by association. Why are you defending them? You must be one of them problem of coming out. And so much of this is because of the extreme levels of hasty judgment that are taking place. This is one of the things that I really need help with. Hold on, I'm trying to find the fucking this one right here. So like PC culture movement. I think banning words is absolutely terrible. We should not be banning words. We should not be banning words. It doesn't solve the problem. However, I can absolutely greatly agree. I also want the same goal. So is the goal, the intentions, the motivations that a person has, you know, even in there, even if like you go to all of their logic and the most of it's all wrong, all their overarching claims, subclaims, all that stuff, their evidence, like their problems, here, all these problems everywhere. Even first, the very first one is their goal of what they're trying to achieve. So like one of the things I'll constantly refer to is the Ferberizer method or the PC culture movement, and some other examples to show these things, where the goal is extremely important, and it needs to be well understood. And how do we achieve that goal together? So this whole thing of why do people use horribly high levels of contempt and vitriol in their voice, in their tone? You can hear it. You could see it on their face, and they're saying retard and a long list of other pejoratives at another person. I want that to also stop. But if we don't understand the deep philosophical complicated thing that ever allows a person to want to do that thing, we will never solve the problem, and we'll act like, because we have this illusionary effect thing of where, oh, it seems like it works. Because, okay, we're in the world of banning words now. PC culture movement started in the pretty much like the 80s, but it really took off in the 90s. And okay, great. So it's all, and it still persists today. I mean, people get banned onto Discord servers for saying words. Like I think the one in Destiny's Discord server is like spaz. Like you're not allowed to say spaz. But so it seems like it works, right? Like, oh gosh, like D cubed, there's all these, like, if you say the word spaz, you're not allowed to say the word spaz. So if you either comply with it or we ban you, we have this illusionary effect. Our ideology, our rule, our moral foundation that forms our principles, that forms our rule, is working. We're stopping people from being mean. We're stopping people from being bad and horrible to each other. So I think this is a thing with any side of any topic, that when people implement rules, whatever it is, there's an illusionary effect of to some degree, it really feels like it's working. But here's one of the things that I have, and this is why this is so spaced out at the very top of the document. I just want people to just solitarily focus on this thing. So out of 40,000 hours, 9 years, and I'm never, ever, ever saying that or anything else to draw a dogmatic line in the sand, saying you can't criticize it, neither can I, neither can anyone else. I'm never going to fucking do that. But I truly believe that the most dangerous ideas, because obviously there's extremely dangerous ideas that are like far-right Islam killing their apostates. Fucking terrible idea. However, the most dangerous ideas are the ones that prevent any one of us at all ever from debating our own ideas, our rules, our principles, and morals that we use and we prescribe. I can go straight to apostatism, and so this is one of the things of why I needed this diagram right here, because too often people are only talking about the judgment claim of right and wrong. So whenever you try and show, hold on a second, apostatism actually has value, they're thinking you're saying this. So here's the description of the 3 different elements. So element 3, the judgment claim, they're thinking you're only talking here, and then so trying to say, hey, no, but hold on a second, there's value in the action and we need to see that. They think you're talking only about this 3rd element. So when you're trying to say there's value in it, they're not looking down here and you're trying to show this cost benefit analysis of measuring these things that are either easy calls or close calls. Have you ever seen I'm sure you've seen the look on somebody's face of where you say something and it's like you just grew a second head out of the side. They're like, what did you just say? What did you, the comment? What the fuck? What?
Yeah.
How dare you? And they're just they're so offended. But there is value in killing apostates. In fact, it's so fucking American. It's just over a different line. We kill fucking traitors. There's literally legislation, laws. We have the whole thing. If you betray our country, we will kill you. So if I even try and show the average person, and I'm like, hey, do you think it's good that Islam kills people that leaves their religion? Of course, they're immediately they're going to the 3rd element, the judgment claim, and going, no, that's terrible, that's wrong, it's horrible. And I fucking agree with you. I also want no religions to ever kill any of their apostates. However, in order to so this is all comes down to forms of warfare by which we resolve our ideological conflict. So I can use financial coercion, I can use political warfare, I get more votes than you, and this has to do with the nation you're in. What forms of warfare can you resolve your ideological conflict? Insurrections are a form of ideological conflict resolution attempts. So battle of ideas, if we're going to use the battle of ideas, if we're actually going to learn where I can care where I'm wrong, you can care where you're wrong, and we reach a threshold of agreement, you have to very well know on every fucking thing, no matter how horrible the thing is, like rape, there's no value in the woman being raped. Absolutely sees no value. Sure, all of her friends and family see absolutely no value. Absolutely fucking agree with you. There's no value there that they see at all in that action. However, the person doing it sees value, and you need to be able to understand that. And if you can't do that, you will never, ever, ever solve the fucking problem of why it's happening. You will just constantly pat yourself on the back and going, yeah, we did a good thing here and we stopped the rape in this one instance. It's the same thing with the pizza culture movement banning words. This illusionary effect of it seems like we've solved the problem, but many of these things deal with deep philosophical issues. So killing apostates, let's ask a question. Are all people in far-right Islam, are all people that are of the Islamic religion, all far-right Islam, that all kill apostates? No. Islam is the largest religion in the world, and there's everything from far left to center right to far right Islam. They encompass all of these things. I'm wondering if you also see that as well.
Yeah, I think this is one of the big places. So I should start. I have changed my perspective on things more times than I can count. I was incredibly conservative, alt-right-ish was kind of how I started, and then I slowly started to debate these things, argue with people, and it never things rarely change in the moment, but it planted enough seeds of doubt and things like that in my mind that it eventually shaped who I am today, and the openness that I have to more of these ideas, because I've just changed them so many times. I was anti-gay marriage, and the things that I said about gay people I feel disgusting about, and to this day that I even thought or said those things, and stuff like that. So when it comes to Islam, I had probably closer to, I guess I would say, a Sam Harris perspective on it, where I think he over attributes the religion itself and not the geopolitical aspects surrounding it. But yeah, I would agree with you on the Islam case, and kind of religion generally, that it operates and has always operated on what some people call the buffet style, of you kind of impart part of your moral values onto it, your cultural values, your things like that, onto what the religion says. You ignore parts you don't like. Even
post hoc rationalization, pick and choose what you think is good.
Yeah. Even my friend who I was talking about, I was like, you realize that the Quran says you can beat women, right? And he was like, well, yeah, but you don't have to follow that part. Right? It's this it's
but okay, can we criticize the fucking rule set that everyone is strictly saying that no, you have to? Too many people say verbatim, take everything, and we have to see this notion of I think even people that ascribe, that are secularists, work like this. They have their knowledge. I just call them knowledge source authorities, and this is pretty much anyone at any level of a thought leader that's basically their own god. And every group acts like this. They don't criticize their own gods. They don't criticize their own thought leaders. But this isn't because they're bad, terrible, horrible people. They're not doing that maliciously on purpose. We have to see that this is baked into people. Have you heard of the Milgram experiment, where they go ahead?
I was going to say I don't think so. It sounds a little familiar, but like I said, I'm not.
You're fine. You're totally fine. And none of this is ever
this isn't going to be on the final exam.
well, people are usually so one of the things we have to, I think, constantly see, there's just so much to see, is we're trying to kick everyone off of the seat at the table. So what I'm trying to envision, there's quite a few thought experiments that I try and envision just all of this through. So one of them is we're a town of 20,000 people. There are 5 seats at the town square debate table. There's different groups. So of the 5, there's far left, there's center left, center right. And every single group is trying to kick all of the other 4 off of the group. So they're using different actions to say, we have a right to be here. So it's ever trying to ascribe to somebody's intelligence or moral foundations of hey, ours is better than everybody else's. When we have a right to have a seat at the table, to talk about the complicated problem of whatever it is. And we can use there's a well, and we all need the water from the well. It's our only source of water. And then, just between you and me, I think that we should use artificial chemicals that are antibiotic to protect the well and make it clean. And you think that we should do essential oils and different plants and herbs that are antibiotic. And we both greatly disagree. I think if you have your way to any degree, it's not good enough, and we all die. Our only source of water is no longer a good source of water, and then we all are starve of thirst, and then vice versa. So one of the other thought experiments, I'll just really quick end with this one, is that we're on the Titanic. I think a more simplistic way of showing it is we're on the Titanic. I think there's an iceberg ahead. We have 3 hours to debate. I think if we go left, we all survive. If we go right, we all die. You think the exact opposite. What form of warfare are we using to resolve that conflict? Am I going to kill you? Am I going to restrain you? What if you have there's 200 people on the boat, and you are the knowledge source leader, authority, metaphorical Catholic priest for half of them, and then I'm the other half? Are we gonna enact a civil war, and we're going to have horrible hot conflict, and then whoever's the victor gets to steer, which direction we go. Anyways, the Milgram experiment is shows this thing of like that people will do horrible dehumanizing things to another person, like they're hearing physically the other person on the other end screaming as they are pushing buttons they know are causing harm, and they're continuing to do it because the authority figure tells them it's good, all these different scientific good things, it's why it's good, and they will continue to do it. That the large percentage of people it wasn't like, oh, it's only 3% and those are just the sociopaths. Like, no, it was like I can't remember, it was like 60% or something like that. It's crazy.
I
65%. 65% go up to the full 450 volts.
This is part of what they use with the Nazi Germany crimes of like just following orders, right?
Yeah. This is why, like, when we have blame distributions of anything, wherever we're looking at any problem, we really need to see, like, these organizational structures of what is basically, like, stick or carrot pressures that are incentives or disincentives, what is approved and disapproved behavior. And overwhelmingly, every group has horrible levels of stick pressures that you're never supposed to criticize your own leader. You're never supposed to, like, Trump supporters are not supposed to criticize Trump. Biden supporters are not supposed to criticize Biden. Your criticisms are hate and they are attacks, and you're only supposed to do it to the other side. And I think this is an incredible, horrible weakness that keeps us in this metaphorical Mexican standoff where we only want. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Yeah. I was gonna say, it's kind of gets to that like core value thing of like, what I found in more of these debates is like, and this may. Like maybe just like a poor way of it is a poor way of thinking of it, is like you end up seeing kind of like what information they're putting forward and you're like, oh, that drives why they believe the thing, right? And if I can just convince them that thing is wrong, then they'll change their position. But that's whatever they're putting forward is just an extension of whatever that core value is. And the way that I like visualize it is those things are just like on a string, and then once you cut that string, it doesn't really matter because you haven't actually engaged with the core value behind it. And I think the example and the thing that kind of finally broke the camel's back, as it were, for me on the religion aspect, because I had a lot of trouble understanding why people stayed religious, why these things happened, why it had any value at all, versus being an institution that's lasted for thousands and thousands of years. Basically, I read Jonathan Haidt's book.
Which one?
What's it called?
The first one. Cuddling the American Mind?
No, the one with the elephant on the front.
So the elephant and the rider. Got it. Great. I love that because I constantly refer to the elephant.
Oh, happiness hypothesis. That's.
Oh, is that the elephant and the rider then? Does he talk about in there or
elephants? There's an elephant rider as the front. That's the cover of the book, but it's called The Happiness Hypothesis. I'm holding it finding modern truth and ancient wisdom.
Okay.
So this one, so once I read this, that's what I didn't read in 2006. I read it like 2 or 3 years ago. But this is what changed my perspective a lot on like religion and a lot of these topics, because it went to if you consider religion more of a system that idolizes something, you can apply the term religion to a lot more things, but you can see how it's this powerful institution that brings people together, that has people work towards a common goal. But because they have this like idolization perspective, that's like this protected truth that can't be argued against or can't be criticized, because if you're criticizing it, you're criticizing kind of the fundamental values on them. So this book is kind of the prequel to his second book, which I haven't read because I heard it's quite similar, but I have it on the mantle here too. It's The Righteous Mind is the one that kind of expands on the ideas that he talks about in the happiness hypothesis. So but yeah, once I kind of read that, it made it click, because I used to just be like, why would somebody believe something so stupid, rather than being like, oh, religion is this incredibly powerful community builder. People engage with it in different ways. They have different value systems. There's like, I think it's like Albanian Muslims, like drinking culture is still a part of their religion and their culture, like things like that. Again, back to the Islam case, just because I read the book, so I know it a little bit better. There's like a good argument to be like, this is the only book that tells you exactly how to get into heaven, and it's dying in a holy war. So why isn't everybody dying in a holy war? Because for me, it used to be that, hey, religion is a game, and that game is trying to win and trying to go to heaven. So why wouldn't you do everything in your power to achieve that, rather than seeing it as this like long-standing, like I said, institution system that creates social capital and brings people together incredibly well, and all the people who want to tear that institution down, there's a good criticism of it, of like, okay, what now, right? That was one of the criticisms of like the atheist movement in the 2000s was, you burnt down this institution system that I had. Great, I'm not a Mormon or not a whatever anymore. Where's my community? And then the atheists went, what are you talking about? I just told you, I liberated you. That information is wrong. And they're like, yeah, but I got my like family, my life, my friends, the things that I do, the charity that I participate in, the like all of these other beneficial things to not only them but also to society existed. And I think that gets to the kind of the point you're talking about, of like, if we don't at least see the value in these things, and you just kind of lock in and go, this is the problem, religion, and then go, I'm not going to think about the consequences of it going away, we're going to run into a lot of troubles. So
I think that we have unsolved mysteries. There are deep philosophical issues, and the mantle responsibilities on the thought leaders in academia to solve these things, as well as like so many philosophers throughout fucking history. But this is the current thought leaders in academia, and we're just constantly dealing with so many. Like, each one's enormously complicated. Most of them all interlock with one another, which makes them even more complicated. So like, even right here, we're dealing with, like, hey, did you watch the Jordan Peterson versus Destiny debate?
Yeah, I reviewed the climate change part on my channel.
Okay, so when they talked about how Jordan Peterson, they basically mostly agreed on that religion's purpose is to constrain entropy, and this is the chaos, and this is the whole thing of chaos versus order. How much tolerance, and this is everything between can a society function being 100% tolerant of everything anyone ever does in society, or can we be 100% intolerant? And I think the simple answer is no on both of those things. One is extreme. Like, are you familiar with the slippery slope fallacy concept?
Yeah,
I would presume.
That it's like constantly brought up with like anything, if it's like a speech law, and then you're like, well, we have libel laws, we have these things, and yeah.
So yeah, I made a diagram trying to illustrate, and this is how I see it. And I call the boulder the extreme chaos boulder, because once you get here into a far left position on anything, I think we're no longer are maintaining the standard anymore. We cannot have social cohesion of maintaining that standard. Basically, we can't police each other at all. We're not allowed to say, hey, that's improper to any degree. You're called a Karen or whatever the fuck it is or I don't, like, the most dangerous one that I cannot fucking stand that I'm seeing going around right now. I call them low trust society rules, and it's, I don't care what anyone thinks. That is toxic. It's so fucking dangerous. And every group is promoting it. Everyone from Joe Rogan to to show you my, it's interesting you came from like center right and a little bit further, and even there, just to like, maybe you can help me, let's see, pendulum.
Yeah, like for reference, the current far right, the current far right leader in Canada is Maxime Bernier. He's the People's Party. He's, I guess, like the closest would be like hardcore mega Canadian.
What's his name?
Maxime Bernier. Or Maxime Bernier. He is PPC is the name of his party. People's Party of Canada.
I don't
They
know
don't
how to
hold any
spell this.
seats
There
or
we
anything.
go.
Yeah,
There we go.
there he is.
I don't think I've seen
Yeah.
him before.
He
Okay.
doesn't hold any power. He hasn't won a seat or anything. But
Okay.
in I believe it was 2016, he came second in the Conservative race.
Mhm.
And he was the person that I voted for, because I was part of I was I guess member of the Conservative Party, right? Like vote for who your person is. But
Mhm.
yeah. Anyway, he's the leader of what would be considered the far right party of Canada now. Definitely the hardcore shut down the border type immigration is destroying our country. Those type, right, like that kind of hard line, and those were views that I was pretty sympathetic to back then. I don't think I had I can't remember having a super strong view on immigration, but I think if you asked me if we should lower it or not, my instinct would have been yeah, of course, and that just lots of lots of the same arguments that person in my Discord chat was making, and I would have considered myself back then to be racist. So I think that's why I was a little bit more comfortable using the terminology there. But yeah, I was definitely edging on the more extreme right case, kind of the I think what drew me to Destiny as well is he had talked about that, how he was further right. He was
Right.
On all the, and I was like, oh yeah, that was like me as well, right?
Yeah, and even here we can see this pressure of if I can find a thought leader that allows this approved behavior in that group, then I've found a place where I'm accepted here. So it's accepted to have gone from this to this, and I'm not going to be told you're a horrible racist, get the fuck out of you're the evil people. Because I think we're just constantly dealing with heroes versus villains, saints versus sinners, and if you are part of the bad people with bad ideas, you need to get the fuck out of here. You're not accepted. I think that's an incredible social pressure that we have to see, that I think is constant throughout everything. That's one of the reasons that of the media things that I want to go through, of this 3 versus 3 panel and what happened with, did you watch any of this storyline? So Destiny debates AJW, Lauren Southern, and impromptu here. Let me pull it up so you can get a more better view of what the
did Donald
looks
Trump
like
at the Capitol.
So then later it looks like this. So
oh
this
yeah,
is Lauren,
you're right.
Lauren Southern.
I did. I think I watched it. I don't think I finished the whole thing.
And then the relitigation of that debate afterwards is this one where Connor,
Early childhood education.
Connor, Destiny, and Pisco, and then at some point AJW comes in, and I think this is the constant thing that Connor feels like you want me to call AJW Sean a liar, and if we all agree, so right now in our in group to whatever level of degree we are working together, that AJW Sean is a horrible liar, and we should all, because no one wants, because I think we're dealing with these pressures of no one wants a liar or a hypocrite or a narcissist in their in-groups. No one wants to work with that person. So as soon as we ascribe and label a person as such thing, then we all kick them out. We're all going to blacklist this person. And I feel like that was the pressure as to why Connor was so upset during the whole thing. Did you get any of this?
I followed some of it. I watched a little bit of, I think, Connor's response at the end of it, and yeah, I guess I think maybe where Destiny might have trouble is seeing, because I can see myself in him and see myself in those people that are like that, even to this day, right? It's not like I shook my biology. I was just able to change my perspectives. I still get angry. I still do try my best, but it's yeah, and and I think when I see someone like AJW or Connor doing these things,
Mm-hmm.
we always want like an immediate like, hey, I was wrong. And then when I at least put my own perspective on it, or my own history on it, it's like, hey, like these types of changes took me years and years of like debates and discussions, and it slowly eroded away at the positions that I had. And I think a lot of the time there's a bit more of a blood sports thing, especially on the internet, of like, fucking kill him, like you have right, you're ready to do the execution in Mortal Kombat, right? And that gets clicks, and that gets a lot of
Yes. Yeah.
a lot of engagement, and
Yes.
where it's like, you know, it'd be nice if we could give a jumping off point to someone like him of like, hey, like, do you see where you went wrong? Do you see why we're seeing this from this perspective, blah blah blah. And I'm saying this almost from like a hypocritical perspective, because like I'm, you know, in the moment it's still nice to see that, and then once you take like a few hours and a few steps back, you're like, oh, like this is a much better system. And so I guess a question that I actually would have is, how do you kind of parse those two things? Because like it's obviously way easier to see these things as a Monday morning quarterback than it is in the moment when emotions do run high and you're like ready to go, your adrenaline is pumping, and you're like, all right, let's fucking do this. I kind of think back to the sports that I played. Like I said, I did rugby and football, but my main sport was wrestling, where it was like really me versus you. Like that's the like that's kind of like, I guess, more of a biological like drive that I've had, is like, okay, like I like debating, I like the fight, and those can be really hard to parse if like you want the goal of actually changing minds, actually kind of bridging these gaps to exist. And then to add more to this, there seems to also be this perspective of like some arguments can feel like lost causes when you just are on those completely different levels. So like with me and Buck on my climate change debate, where it's like he just will never trust or believe in like the institutions that exist. So am I arguing against him? Do I have any hope in hell of changing his perspective? Or am I doing this not nefariously per se, but like to convince people in his audience who may not have as strong a binding to his kind of golden calf or idolism of whatever those ideas are?
Golden
Sorry,
couch,
that was
is
a
that
lot.
like this? No, you're totally fine, man. Seriously, it is. And it's totally fine. So
that's the
go ahead.
kind of happiness hypothesis.
Sacred,
of like
sacred is that the sacred cow fallacy?
Yeah.
These are my treasured beliefs, and no one can criticize them. Yeah, so I would call those ideas beyond the wall of dogma, and I can't criticize them, and neither can you, and I will never let you. And no matter what logic trains you go, you're like, this is one of the things that I think of by when people like, there's multiple things that are going on here of like, basically we have faith, form, so our motivation, then our form is our Pell standard, our critical thinking, our epistemic standard, and then rule set. So the rule set is the epistemic standard. The form of what we do in the conversation has to do with our faith and our form. So if I'm debating so even if I have like a call to authority logical fallacy that I know I should care for in my rule set, but I hate you, I won't use that in the thing. Even if you try and call, especially if you call me out for it. You say, hey, no, honey, you're doing a call to a theological fallacy. I won't even let you acknowledge that. Then I'll go around and this is why I call, like, one of the things that is happening in this conversation of why I have it in here is Pisco and Connor at one point are doing this thing of attacking the other person's principles, standards, so their rule set, and their philosophies of what should happen in debate. And this is just one of the really good examples, I think, that demonstrates this. That one, there's a couple questions that we have to ask here. Like, I truly believe that the best we ever fucking had in the United States of America, in the collective aggregate sum inside of just academia, politicians, political pundits, people that were debating any of these complex political issues, I think the best we ever had, I swear to you, I'm not being hyperbolic even a little bit, is 4 out of 10. There are definitely some people that were higher at a 5.5, and there are some people that are lower at a 3, but the aggregate is around 4. We have never, but we're constantly just, do you know the Douglas Murray thing of the year zero problem, where the average person is just thinking in this normalcy, from this stupid level of normalcy bias, that today our religion, our science, our culture, everything is just fucking perfect. We were wrong 30 years ago. We were wrong in slavery. We were wrong in antibiotics. We were wrong in whatever the fucking thing is. We were wrong then, but today we're fucking perfect. And I think even judging the standard, it's just a constant thing you can't get people to see.
Yeah, I think that gets into the difference between outcomes and human nature, right? So we can change what the outcomes are and the overarching information that we have, but not what the fundamental how we act. I think actually Jordan Peterson said this of we're not really much different. We're the same humans that we were 10,000 years ago. The other quote is, "We're always 3 meals away from anarchy," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the best examples too on that, this gets more into the science space of is my physics teacher showed me this. He drew a circle on the board and he said, at year 0 or back in the day, this was our knowledge was in the circle and our questions were the perimeter. And then he drew a bigger circle and he's like, and now this is our knowledge and these are our questions. And I guess the kind of part of the argument to someone like Douglas Murray would be we have more answers, but we also have way more questions than we did back then.
Mm-hmm. Are you aware of the fairness doctrine that was instituted in 1949, removed in 1987 by Ronald Reagan?
No, so I'm Canadian, so some of the
totally fine.
We get enough. Not in everyone's view. No, I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
But we get we get obviously a lot of American politics and things like that, but specifics on things like that, or at least
even the average fucking person. Well, just to be clear, the average person that I've ever asked this question, easily 99%. Again, I try and care. I think hyperbole is a fucking terrible sin, and I'm not saying I never do it, but I am constantly trying to not ever do it. So I've been on this path for the last 9 years. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, Canadians tend to know a fair bit about American culture, and laws and things like that, just by virtue of being your guy's hat.
There's that, but also I think the largest export that the United States has is the ideas, the culture, that this American experiment of democracy, democratic republic, constitution, and egalitarianism, liberty-minded society, classical liberalism, all these different things, we've been exporting these ideas that other people see are valuable. So basically, it's a religion that is, hey, here's this rule set of how you can have a healthier society on how to resolve your disagreements, literally giving us the right in the very first fucking amendment. All the amendments are important, but the very first amendment, along with freedom of speech, along with freedom of the press, giving everyone the right to actually protest. You have the right given by these people to protest, but then also to care for corruption. You do not have a fucking right. You get a felony if you do it in front of a judge's house. In showing those two different things. You have a right to protest. Constantly do that. And then on top of that, have you seen any of the debates of Destinies with any amount of the insurrection or levels of democracy and things?
I watched a few of them. I did get a little I would argue burnt out on them.
Sure.
Because,
No, they're
yeah,
wrong. The Rob Noah
yeah.
one's 5 hours. The Andrew Wilson one makes you want to just walk over
Oh,
to the
yeah.
wall and just start going
I
like
know.
this. You're just like,
Yeah.
motherfucker, stop,
was-
stop,
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah, it reminded me of
Go ahead.
Jordan Peterson's Sam Harris, the first one, where they couldn't define truth,
Mm,
and I was like, that
Mm.
was probably one of the worst discussions I've ever heard in my life. It's like 2.5 hours of them trying to be like, what is true, and oh my goodness, yeah. So
I think even just the question. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
even
just
just
give
the
me
question of
flashbacks
what absolutely, and the question of what is true wouldn't encompass 2.5 hours. It would easily be like if literally all thought leaders right now, not just Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris, all levels of thought leaders were just to engage in that topic. I think to at least my level of, and I don't know, and we can talk about like why we call it autistic, but my level of autistic pedantic endeavor, semantic arguing, it would easily be over like a 3-month period of time, constantly revisiting the topic, probably, I don't know, like, goddamn, dude, it would easily be every single night for 4 hours for 3 months, and that might only be like 30% of what we need to do. Like, it's so, and I think this is the most complicated topic human beings deal with. Like, one of the things that I believe that I found is the unconscious sin. That Christianity is right, we are all born into sin. Liberalism is right, we have unconscious bias, and that biases create levels of irrational thought. And any bias that a person's not aware of, so like the confirmation bias, that would be an unconscious bias. So if I don't know what a confirmation bias is and I'm constantly doing it, that of course that's an unconscious bias. But these two right here, the destructive, I call them the destructive contempt bias and nice bias, destructive nice bias, because there's a good form of nice, there's a constructive form of nice. There isn't not a constructive form of contempt, but anyways, I just refer to them as a nice bias, a contempt bias. I just don't want people to get this overview of like how I'm framing it of like we should never be nice. That's not what I'm saying. I think these are the largest biases that are formulating individuals' level, what they think is true, and it warps. Like it just creates really high levels of irrational thought, and it's not seen. It's only seen by the other side. That's too. One of the people that I found recently, Ninja Healer, he talks about how like there's this quote from Mark Twain about how when people are examining the other, they'll use 130 IQ, but when they're examining themselves, they'll use 30 IQ. So this is, I think this right here, these two things, this mirroring bias, is the way. So basically, it would be like if you and I were doing it to each other, I would be exaggerating your ideas to make them seem worse than they are. I would make your behaviors seem worse than they are. Both of these are lies of exaggeration. Then I would downplay your good ideas and downplay your good behaviors. These would be lies of omission. Then in reverse, when I go to judge myself, I will exaggerate my good ideas and I will exaggerate my good behaviors. Again, lies of exaggeration. Then I will downplay my bad ideas and I'll downplay my bad behaviors. And I can show these. Challenge me. I will show them everywhere, in every single scenario in life. Interpersonal relationship conflicts of husband and wife, parent-child, and groups of friends, especially like the recent reality TV show that I'm like just binge watching over and over and over again is The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. It's fucking phenomenally fascinating. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I saw a commercial for that. That looked insane to me. I just like it was like a whatever 2-minute ad for it. I was like, holy shit! Especially because I grew up with in a relatively high Mormon town, and I was
really. Okay.
Like,
we're meeting each other where they are. I was born and raised Mormon. Go continue.
Oh, you were born Mormon. My best friend was Mormon. So like
Southern California Mormon, born and raised. I'm 47, and I've not been Mormon for about 14 years. Go ahead.
Interesting. Yeah, it was just like I grew up around more Mormons than most. Obviously not you, but than most people. And so yeah, I remember seeing that.
Can you say the town?
that might dox me a little bit.
You're fine. Nope, you're fine. Can you say the state?
Oh, it was British Columbia.
Okay. Right, Canada. Duh. Fuck. Okay. Continue.
Canadian, yeah.
Interesting. There's a really high population in British Columbia, or there's in some towns there's a high population of Mormons.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
especially with the high school I went to and all that stuff. Yeah, it was just there was I grew up with a number of Mormons, and like I said, my best friend went to BYU, got married there, that kind of stuff. So yeah, he was a missionary in France. So sorry, I got a little distracted. I really like the way that you've made this. That like like I'm gonna like steal it because it I think this
you can fucking take it. No, even right there. Right there. I'm sorry for derailing you. And that's just one of the things. Like, so this is a toxic thing that we're doing. Like, where Destiny can't have somebody else's fucking opinion. That's so fucking, dude, it's so, how do we spread good words? How do we spread the good ideas? Okay, let's say you and I right now come up with like an incredible, whatever the fucking topic is, we come up with so you can tell I'm passionate about this. So like, it's so infuriating. The levels of weaknesses we have inside of our standard of what's right and what's wrong, where people are not allowed to have, that's a talking point from this thought leader and you're not allowed to have it. What the fuck are we doing there? That is, oh my God, that's so bad. How do we spread the word? Like, let's say we come up with an actual cure for cancer, but change it to any religious topic. To make sure that like everyone has a fucking dog in the fight, extremely, and so high levels of motivated reasoning of like being irrationally against it or rationally for it, and then we can't get that idea spread because any thought leader at any level, DC, B, or A, is going to go, no, that's Ben Shapiro's, and I can't do that because he's across from me, and then I can't do that because it's even though we're right next to each other, and that's Pisco's, and I'm Destiny, and I can't do that. Dude, this is it's just one of this is why this topic is so enormously complicated, and now I have Philip Poole to go and write this thing down, come up with a fucking name for it, and put it down here. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? And like any of these things. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, no worries. No, that's yeah.
So you steal my ideas, and you're not stealing it. I don't give a fuck about these ideas. They're not. I mean, we need to go through the whole thing of like, are people their ideas? And I think to an extreme degree we are. But there's a lot of nuance there as well that we need to go through. But please go.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just this puts together so well, like I think general like intuition or ideas, but like this really lays it out of like, oh yeah, like I can see myself doing that. I can see other people doing that. I can see the our team versus not, all kinds of stuff like that. Like the like obviously we like to, we're narrating our own story. We want to see ourselves as like the good guys, and then just being able to step back. And I think this plays really well into another idea that I hold pretty strongly of like the importance of institutions, because and I'd actually like to get your opinion on this, but like part of my the way that I feel is there almost feels like a lost cause of like trying to do this ourselves, or the level of effort versus like what people are actually going to do in any context is so great that that's not going to happen, even if you can get a few people to do it. So institutions are really important, like the scientific institution, because you have a whole bunch of people engaging in motivated reasoning, trying to get their ideas to be the correct ones, that we can actually find kind of what the truth or what the answer is. I'm speaking more from like a scientific background. I'm an engineer, so we have a lot more concrete answers.
I love that you're an engineer. Please continue.
Yeah. So
you're one of the demographics that are critical for us. Go ahead. Solving all this.
Awesome. But yeah, so there's a lot more like kind of, I guess, like proof is in the pudding. Like I can legitimately prove an answer, prove a solution, so that can take out some of the gray area that exists in like more the social contracts and the like discussions that people have. But when I look at it from that perspective, this idea that you kind of have these groups almost working against each other, but they end up creating this beautiful answer at the end, that we can work towards truth. And that's why an institution like a university is so important, having intellectual diversity and having people being able to approach things from different perspectives is really, really well, good. And but I think this describes really well how like individuals will act, but if you look at it as a system, you can see how we kind of chug along. And I like to say it's like there's a, I guess, blog I follow called like Marginal Revolution. It's more about economics, but like just marginal changes over time. We like to look at these like Einstein moments, but yeah, a lot of it is just like building on what we had, especially in science, and then slowly progressing towards changes. Even the mRNA vaccine had been decades and decades in the books. It just happened. It feels like it was so new, but when you actually look at the long-standing research profile behind it, it's this like, you know, each gear, each person is just kind of turning that cog slowly and slowly and slowly as we work towards these solutions. And people are going to be wrong, people are going to be right, people are going to feel really strongly that they're correct in something. But because we have these institutions, those bad ideas fall out and we're kind of left with the good ones. And at least from the science perspective of like, we can see the proof in the pudding of like engineering feats and things like that. But, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, it's yeah. And so, you know, you mentioned like autism, like, yeah, that can be the difficulty that I have of like kind of seeing certain perspectives from other sides. Again, the religion one I think was the most salient for me, of being like, why aren't you trying to win this game? I don't understand. Right?
Why are you trying to win what?
Well, like with religion, like the way that it like changed the way that it clicked in my head was like,
Just real quick, I have to readjust my headphones.
No worries.
Slide off my head. It becomes annoying. All right, go for it.
Yeah, it was like, why aren't you trying to win this game? Like, it isn't the game of religion just to get to heaven, right? Like that was the way that I used to view it. And it was so hard for me to not
is to get to heaven by being a good person. And then what is the rule set to be a good person?
Yeah, and it's just like, why wouldn't you follow that rule set to the key? Again, back to like Islam, there is like it says, you know, if you die a martyr, like fighting for your religion, like you'll go to heaven. I was like, but there's this cognitive dissonance of like, wait, how, like, why isn't every Muslim like trying to fight a war because you win the game, like you get to heaven? Why, like, and it was like those kind of cognitive dissonances that like eventually like flipped my perspective on a number of things. But yeah.
Dude, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wise Men, if you get a chance to do I swear to you, there's so much fucking here. The beginning episode, so we're constantly dealing with the saints. Like, it literally comes, like, there's 8 women, 8 wives. They're all social media influencers. There's things that spark that off that increases their following to where they're the breadwinners in their family, in their relationship. Yeah. And then the very beginning episode, they talk about how they're trying to fight the patriarchy. And this gets into my whole argument of, have you heard like how conservatives, some are memeing, but a lot are not, in repealing the 19th and the whole thing of that men are logical, women are emotional, right? And there is actually some decent amount of truth to what they're arguing for. However, the goal for my whole social movement project is to give women more of a voice, but not just women. It's men and women. We're talking past one another. We're constantly discrediting the other person. We do not know how to use the battle of ideas to work through our ideological conflicts, to reach a threshold of agreement, to make a genuine cooperative decision. It's literally The vast majority of the time, it's never happening. It's actually never happening. Usually one person's just submitting due to different forms of coercion, and they're just trying to survive. So we're dealing with a dominant submissive dichotomy. So go back to like the 1950s, where we overwhelmingly had a patriarchy, where the man is supported by society, the man is the leader in the household, and to some degree, there's some amount of the voice of a woman can be heard, the wife could be heard, but to a large degree and a long list of things. So this is why I have here this right here.
Don't be mad. I just got up to change her.
Well, Mitchell really wanted to Ferberize the baby.
Ferberize. It is a method of getting the baby to sleep through the night by, yes, basically letting her cry herself to sleep.
Torture.
It's not torture.
It's just hard if you happen to be a person who hates to hear another person suffer.
Or two people suffer.
There's just a long list of topics between a husband and a wife where you cannot just agree to disagree. It's absolutely impossible. Just on this one, if as the wife, as Cam, every single day for nap time and bedtime, you legitimately believe your child is being tortured, and I'm actually on Cam's side. I actually think that the Ferberize method is a barbaric torture you should never do to your child, and you need to do something else to achieve the goal you want, because I also think the goal is really fucking good. It's basically you want a child to self-soothe, and you do not want a horrible, spoiled, entitled brat as a child at any age. Really fucking agree with that. But this method, I think, is absolutely terrible. But imagine being Cam. You're literally living this every day. You're constantly hearing your child crying, the only way they can communicate. And then this ideological conflict is actually torture. It actually makes you're never going to let this go. You can't. How can you?
No, it's like I don't have kids, so it's a little a little harder, but
sure.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like this. If you're so ideologically misaligned, you're never going to see eye to eye. You're never going to agree. You're never going to, and yeah, it'll feel. It's zero sum, I guess, would be the simplest way to put it, right?
Yeah, how is that? What do you mean?
Well, zero sum in the sense that if I give, you win, and if you give, I win, right? There's no there's no middle ground. The economy is an example of a non-zero sum game where you can create one unit of whatever, and I can create one unit by myself, but if we come together, we create 2.2 units, right? We have a multiplying effect on each other. And a positive growth out of that, I guess, is the different game theories. But in this, if one person wants the cry out method, the other person doesn't want the cry out method, there's only a zero sum that can exist of a winner or a loser. If it's causing that much detrimental harm to Cam, right?
Or not just Cam, but the child too. So both.
The child too. Yeah,
right,
yeah, exactly.
Right. Two people are suffering because of something that we're doing, and then what form of warfare? So our definition, Soul Group's definition for warfare is any action that is ever used in an attempt to resolve ideological conflict. If I kill you, my idea wins. If I use physical force or threats of force to make you submit, this is why the definition of insurrection should be in the common sense of every fucking person. Every fucking person should know this, because this all comes down to how does your nation resolve ideological conflict over a long list of different moral foundations, principles, and rules that we're using, and how are we achieving those things? So if a group of people that are greatly afflicted and they think that they're horribly grievanced, and then they use easily the average person can go and do an insurrection, not knowing they're doing harm, only thinking they're doing good, fighting the good fight because they think that and I'm not saying that they're not grievance. I'm not saying that they don't have complaints. They do. I think like if we get into the whole January 6th thing, even outside of any manner of sexual impropriety or issues, or sorry, not sexual issues, god damn it, voting impropriety anywhere, like outside of any voter fraud of anything, removing that off the fucking table. It was not a free or fair election just because of how the average person tuning into CNN, MSNBC, the contempt bias, Trump derangement syndrome, constantly going against Trump to make him seem worse than he is ever, and due to the level of intensity that I have witnessed, and I think that a lot of people on the right have witnessed, that it was gross. The average person legitimately never, on both sides, Republican and Democrat, do not want to vote for a president they actually believe is racist, they actually believe is fascist, or they actually believe is a criminal. They will not vote for them. So the left has constantly been trying to, in every way they fucking can, when they talk on the mainstream media, to make him seem worse than he is, so that the average person will not vote for him. Or if we make him seem racist, they won't vote for him. If he's a criminal, like, you know, all the, like, oh, we tried to make him seem like a racist fascist for a long time. Well, now we're going to try doing the criminal thing. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have a fucked up, like, he's not some fucking perfect saint that I'm at all trying to put on like some pedestal and like he's our leader and in fact he should be our king. Not at all. Donald, I want him out of the conversation, actually. In fact, that's one of the reasons that in my history, I voted for, I've been a liberal Democrat my whole life. I've been arguing with my parents. My dad watched Rush Limbaugh growing up. And then I voted for Obama the first time. The second time I did not vote for Obama because I just greatly presumed he would win. Then I voted for Hillary Clinton. Then I got the gut punch that everyone else did when on the left, that when Trump won. And instead of doubling down and going further far left, which I would absolutely be in woke land right now, which I do think is actually extremely dangerous and destroys our society, because the worst ideas rise to the top. I said, okay, I have to be missing something, and I just started with Ben Shapiro, and I watched a fuck ton of Ben Shapiro, and I love this man. I fucking love Ben Shapiro. I love Jordan Peterson. I love Steven Crowder. These are extremely flawed men that in fact, one of my core, I have a lot of core arguments, but one of my main core arguments is that even people that are very well educated, very in debate, in arguing, in understanding complex ideas, are doing stupendously high level intellectual sin, drawing dogmatic lines in the sand. Did you ever see like the Steven Crowder versus Daily Wire debacle?
Yeah, I followed that saga a little bit.
Nice. So Ben Shapiro's 13-minute video, horrible. He strawmans the fuck out of all of Steven Crowder's arguments, for one. Two, he then draws a dramatic line in the sand stating very specifically, and I'm going to do a verbatim quote right here, of that the 45-minute video that Jeremy Boring made is absolutely comprehensive and irrefutable. That is saying my judgment, our judgment of how we are judging the situation is perfect. No one in our in-group nor our out-group can criticize 45 fucking minutes of claims. Are you goddamn serious? Dude, that is like, I love this man. I love Ben Shapiro. I love his, like, I just remember like when they're, him trying to like at a university, I can't remember which one, but like a good portion of the audience is like doing the Game of Thrones shame while he's trying to speak, which is a form of thought control. They're doing a form of thought control showing that he's not allowed to speak and freely. So they're doing a level of intellectual sin. Fucking terrible. So I love this man. But dude, what the fuck, man? Like, there isn't anything worse than that. There's nothing worse than that. I don't care what the fuck you're claiming. You have the cure for cancer. You think this, whatever it is, morally right and wrong. I don't care who the fuck you are. Why do you get to say that? How are you the arbiter of truth? What the fuck? I was disgusted. I was actually hit in my stomach, disgusted with Ben Shapiro. I would constantly disagree with him. every single time he spoke, I would have ranges of like, I mildly agree with that, I greatly disagree with that, like, okay, but I can see some of his reasoning. Never discuss it with him. At that moment, I was absolutely disgusted with him, and I couldn't believe it. I was floored. I mean, the guy who's saying facts don't care about your feelings, logic versus emotion, displaying stupendously high levels of emotion as he's fucking judging in the court of public opinion, which we constantly, when we talk about judging and laws and rights and shit like that, we constantly go to like criminal and actual judges and stuff like that. But we need to see this thing of the rights we give each other in our social court of public opinion, and how we have swift justice here. We can see this incredible amount of cancel culture, of how strong that fucking is, because that's not used in the criminal court system. To some degree, you know, it gets into that sometimes with sexual impropriety and allegations and stuff. But we have to see this thing that we're all constantly trying to do of character assassination, and that's why I want to refer just really quick back to the FCC Fairness Doctrine. So this was something that was instituted in 1949, removed in 1987. During this time, things were not perfect inside of. So basically what it would do is it wouldn't just give equal time, but it would make it to where inside of journalism school, as well as this specific FCC Fairness Doctrine rule, that any journalist in news media, in newspaper, radio, television, and now internet. Of course, the internet didn't exist back then, but whatever giving any amount of controversial topic to the public, they had to try and do so with as objective measuring as possible. Like, hey, here is Republicans' arguments, and frame it as they say. So no straw manning, no call to authority, logical fallacies, all these logical fallacies and biases, try to care for them as best as possible. What I hear and why it was removed is they would still do this thing of trying to pick the person on the side that the worst ideas and representation and framing, and then steelman them to some degree, but you're still not steelmanning the whole argument from that side. You're taking the worst offender from that side and then trying to ascribe it, conflate it to the whole fucking group. And so want to show like this right here. So this is our Congress voting patterns from 1949.
Yeah, I've seen this. Yeah.
You've seen this? You've seen this?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you're the first fucking person that's ever seen this before. Look at 1987. 1987, look, is removed here. So I think they're arguing over the FCC Fairness Doctrine. It need to be removed. It then being removed, and how do these people make decisions together? What the fuck is this?
Yep.
There's no overlap of agreement. And then I also have, I wish we had longer time frames here, but this is now two other demographics: general public, average Republican and Democrat. This is a lot of agreement. We more agree than we disagree is what I see here. And this is 1994, 2017. And this is how long ago? Now it's what is that, 7 years? Yeah. Okay, so back to 1984 and politically engaged. So these people have more, I think, actually everyone's trying to be good. I really, really believe that. So people see problems with the pharmaceutical industry like happening to their moms, like prices of drugs and all these different things. They're like, okay, great, I'm going to get involved, be politically engaged so I can solve X, Y, and Z problems. I think that's the constant motivation here. So they have more of a motivated reasoning, personal invested interest in solving problems. That's Antifa over here on the top left, and this is the Proud Boys. Yeah. So people that are more invested, and this is all comes down to we're all shit. We're all actually fucking bad at arguing. Not saying that we don't all have ranges of good, and this is why I want to focus on Destiny, because I think he's the best right now. I give him a 5.5 out of 10, and maybe I'm fucking wrong. Let's go judge my fucking scale, and I'll show where I'm coming from. So this right here. So the 4 elements of our ability to form judgments. So this is the performance of any action in, and I know this is a crazy, stupid acronym, but this is team problem solving, battle of idea, social negotiations, which I think the average person inside the household are engaging in on a daily fucking basis. As soon as anyone makes a declarative thing of like, this is the right thing, they're already are showing in an informal debate. They're already in one. If you declare something, or you give any amount of dissent and criticism inside of an interpersonal relationship conflict over any fucking topic, I don't care how mild it is, you're in an informal debate. That's how I view it. So here we have our level of ability of our steps of logical reasoning to form our knowledge and competency of a complex topic. Then we have our level of ability to articulate these ideas of facts, perspectives, and logic and views. Then we have our level of ability to stand on the other person's positions, actually don the robes of the devil, play devil's advocate, scale the wall of obstinance, which it's a long argument I'll get to later at some point. And then level of ability to reevaluate one's arguments, ideas, facts, etc. when analyzing one's logics for flaws of steelmanning. They're opposing, and this is why we need to go from opinion to justified belief. That's what epistemology is supposed to do. It's supposed to be able to distinguish these things because there are higher levels of critical thinking method steps used. And this thing right here, this reevaluation of one's arguments, is what you did after your debate with Soyadal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Definitely. Like it's you do a very, very good job of like writing out these things of and like just having them nicely set up of like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Like you know, versus me, which just feels like it's a little not ad hoc, but it's like, oh yeah, like I try to do these things. I try to like have them, but having them so visible and having them so kind of well constructed and well thought out, I think is really impressive, and I really
thank
like
you
the work that you're doing.
Thank you, and I'm not trying to do this alone. I've been trying to find people I want to work together. I want to work with a big fucking team. I want to get an influx of money so I can do this every day and hire a bunch of people. There's just, and I don't want to go off on like all the different things we could do, but yeah, hire a bunch of people when we're just focusing on these things every day, creating say this, analyzing interpersonal relationship, battle of idea negotiations, and then the political ones, and showing the range of the good and the bad everyone's doing in them. The two main things are our ability to form judgments and then our substantive judgments of what's right and what's wrong. And then scoring everybody. Like watch the Jordan Peterson versus Destiny debate, and at the end give them an aggregate of a sum score. Maybe that's faulty, we shouldn't do that, but then like all these different things.
I'm a data guy.
Yeah.
I love it. I think I was telling you when we were chatting in Discord that's why part of the reason I like the carbon tax so much is that it gives like a score, right? It gives a like, hey, how much do you care about this thing, and then how much does that thing cost X thing, and then I can make decisions based off of it. It's a little bit like in tangential, but like this ability to like score things, have some sort of level of objective measure to work off of, and then be like, even if you're like, hey, this is like a work in progress, these are the areas where we're more confident in, these are the areas where we're less confident in, this is where there's more like, that's why I don't know if you've done this, but like error bars are so important.
What's an error bar? Yeah, go for it, please explain.
Oh, error bars are just, so I did chemical engineering. It's one of the most important aspects of chemical engineering is that every single thing that you measure has some level of error associated with it. So if I measure 150 milliliters on a beaker, I'm looking at that thing. There's a meniscus that's adjusting it a little bit, basically the edges of the water that kind of poke up on the beaker. There's my ability to measure it accurately. There's a number of kind of breaks that it has. So the error may be plus 1 or 2 milliliters. So that's an error bar. And now if I add that value to another value, maybe I'm adding 10 milliliters to this 150 milliliter beaker. Maybe there's another 1 milliliter error. So now my error is plus or minus 3, because in that case, you would add errors together. You do like differential or partial differential equations for like other stuff, math, blah, 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 blah. But like, it's basically this idea that like, as I add things together and multiply things together, each of those specific things have an error bar, and then my answer at the end is going to be some aggregate of those errors combined together. And so rather than giving an exact value of say 5.5, it might be 5.5 plus or minus 1 or plus or minus half, right? Based off whatever we can attribute the error to. So
Yeah, so this would be caring for the margin of error in our measurements, and this would be how right are we?
Yeah. How and
our
where's
our level of confidence when we're stating our judgment claims.
Yeah, and so that with my discussion with Buck and Soyadal, did a nice little I don't want to say shit talk, but it was, his claim was like, well, those things have error bars, therefore we can't trust them. And that's the exact opposite of the claim of like, no, the fact we have error bars is why we can trust it. That's why we say, hey, we're playing within this realm. And I conceded, I was like, hey, like I believe in a much higher carbon tax than you do, but the bottom end of this seems to be $30. This is the bottom end of our error bars. That should be probably the minimum that we implement. And it's just this like, yeah, there's uncertainty. Yeah, there's like a little bit of error on the boundaries, but and that was really frustrating. And I think it really pissed off Soyadal as well. So
yeah, there's this thing that's constantly happening, and it has something to do with how low a person's Pell standard is. Because
sorry, can you explain the Pell standard again? I'm
yeah. So this right here, and I didn't make this picture.
Oh, there we go.
There's only like a few pictures I haven't made, but most of them I have. This right here, pathos, emotions and feelings, which actually are critical. These are critical. We can never. Not only can we not remove them, we need these things. So also, as I ever speak, I want to go to whatever interests you most, by the way. Like, I don't want to constantly pull you in different directions. So like if like that triggered you and you're like, what the fuck? Like, what does that mean? At any point, dude.
You're
never derailing me, by the way. Let me say this real quick. Like the whole tangent thing and derailing and talking in circles or whatever. I do think I talk in circles. I think we're constantly need to. And I think of like the Olympic rings where they're all interlocking circles that are all connected, and we just need to see how they are, and like a mind mapping thing of like how they're all these different things are. So like seriously, wherever you want to go, we're just gonna see the same shit. It's just like how much evidence is there and how much we can see to actually ascertain, see the same things.
Yeah. No, I think I'm really interested in this stuff. And yeah, I love the way that you put this all together. I love the way how you've like written everything out and yeah, just put so much like effort into this. But again, for me, it's like I in a sense went into all of this blind. I was just like, man, there's some like issues that I see in this nation that like we don't seem to be talking about things fairly. I can't really put like a good or like words to necessarily all these things, and like a lot of this stuff that you put down has like really been able to encapsulate things or thoughts that I've had or general feelings just so perfectly, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, I want to learn as much as I can on this, because this is stuff that like I don't understand very well. Like I can do math. Part of my channel is literally me like doing coding and being like, hey, how can we like do like economic trade-off studies to determine like the best solutions for like decarbonization strategies and stuff like this. But when it gets actually into like the debate and things like that, I think that's where I can do some of these things, but I can also be quick to anger, quick to rage, do all these things that we've been talking about. And those are stuff that I want to not like fix about myself, but also like be able to engage better for those things. And so I'm just happy to learn as much as I can about these things and ask dumb questions. And it's awesome, man.
So Jonathan Haidt's Elephant in the Writer, right? You're aware of that to some degree?
Yes,
the elephant is our
yeah,
lizard brain emotions,
Yeah.
and then the outrider is our post hoc, or at least our cognitive rationalization ability. These two things in conflict.
Yeah, it's basically like you can try to move the elephant, but if the elephant really wants to go in a different direction, there's not a lot you're going to be able to.
Yes.
to
Yeah.
do.
That's why.
Kind of the high
Yeah,
level.
Yeah. Like. That's why, like, right here at the very top, before I triggered the fuck out of you, so like this document right here is what I'm trying to like create an outline for, to create a video that I wanted to then mass disseminate. And I know I'm going to trigger people. I'm going to trigger the fuck out of them, and actually I am trying to trigger people. I really am. Not in a bad faith way though, in the best faith ways possible. That just goes right back to like what you care about with the carbon tax thing, and why you care about it isn't because you have some malicious intent or some like extremely just autistic thing that has no relevance. Like, it's all because you care about people. It's all because you care about people. The people you care about, and you seeing that if this is solved to some better degree, the people I directly care about in my life and my community and my nation, this changes and affects all of them, and it's better if I get this reality realized of what's right. This Goldilocks line of this cost benefit analysis of we're doing this, like I'll switch it to psychedelics, that we decriminalize all psychedelics, but then we have X, Y, and Z long list of mitigating things that everyone knows in their common sense of how we're dealing with the dangers. And I'll go right to an extremely simple topic of fire. Same fucking thing. Like, we could talk about the stupid level, because we're always doing this harm versus benefit thing, right? Value versus harm. And fire, I mean, we could talk about the Maui fires, but we could go through how far can we go back in just so many different times throughout human history, where was this the actual form of warfare, ideological warfare, if like people like, well, we're going to go and just like light their whole fucking village on fire. And people's straw huts and wood houses, and this was like a thing. Did we ban fire? It destroyed people's communities. It killed people, and it's one of the most horrific ways to die. Did our societies ban fire? No. At some point, we learned how to mitigate the dangers of fire from education, fire extinguishers, fire departments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's the same thing with any other fucking topic, whether we're talking about nuclear power plants, or we go to psychedelics, video games. There isn't one fucking thing that is just absolutely perfect. We don't need to care about it. There's no harms. There's no dangers. Like, I have a personal motivation that one of the reasons that I think we're about to actually, I know this is a crazy claim, we're about to actually have a highly cooperative team working utopia, is because not only are we going to focus on the battle of idea conversations and that we're not operating off the same standard, but we're going to see that psychedelics are extremely powerful to, one, increases our empathy, two, it increases our ability to problem solve. So wherever someone's IQ is, it actually will fucking make them more intelligent. Three, it heals their internal demons from using MDMA, magic mushrooms, psilocybin, all a long list of things. However, even with these extremely strong views, and to whatever degree they're true, even if they were absolutely true to how I state and frame them, if I had a button in front of me that I push it and we just immediately decriminalize everything, fuck no, I would not do that. We actually would probably have more harms than good, and we would probably all destroy each other. People will wreck their fucking brains in so many different ways. There's a long list of psychedelics, and a lot of them are actually really dangerous. And if a person doesn't know how to mitigate those dangers, especially with them trying to soothe their elephant, which I think is the main reason why people feed escapism, why they destroy their lives with alcoholism to anything else. They're trying to they cannot feel comfortable in their own skin. They have so many demons and so many different things they even watch that are triggering them on a constant daily basis. They need escape from that because it's constantly like, one of the arguments that I'm trying to develop is, and it's a very recent one. I don't know why I didn't make this connection earlier, but like one of my earlier arguments, I was like trying to say like, hey, humanity's disconnecting, and this is the elephant in the room, and I didn't connect it with Jonathan Heights, the elephant in the right ear, until very recently. And I'm like, so now my new argument is we are all the raging elephants in the room. So the elephant in the room is all of us, and our elephants are enraged because we're all triggering each other. And in fact, we have a very specific high-level motivation to trigger other people. That's why I was wondering, like, the Paul's Ego, this one right here, or no, sorry, not Paul's Ego, sorry. Paul, P.F. Chong, and Destiny. Did you watch this one?
Yeah. I watched
You
this
did.
one.
You did.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like some of the stuff P.F. Chung's done. He's a person who I wish I could talk to, and because I'm faceless, I can't. Otherwise, I would have been able to call in and like chat to him about a few of the things that he said.
Oh, and does he have a requirement of
He has
video
a requirement
cams?
of cam.
Just like anything else does. Go ahead. Yep, got it.
Yeah. So that was unfortunate because I would have been able to actually talk to him about a few topics that I'm really interested to like have. So like for instance, for you, when he does his Monday mornings, that might be, I don't know if you have been on his show before, but it's something worth probably pursuing for yourself, since you
I'm trying to. In fact, I made a 2-hour video. It's the title is like Thorsen's autistic attempt to communicate with P.F. Chung. And then I put in his Reddit, I emailed him, and I said, could you please watch the first 20 minutes? But however, and he doesn't know this, and I need to reply to his email, but like, I had already recorded 7 hours that day. I'm also dealing with an illness that severely hinders my ability to perform cognitive executive tasks, like really does. Like there are days I'm a fucking absolute legit retard. I cannot think. I can't even play the video games I want to play to any level that I want to play them. I would just be miserable playing them knowing that I'm failing. Like last year, 12 months, I was like not working. And it's only very recently that I have been able to error correct it to some degree. That my level of lucidity to do these things has improved, and it's only been like the last week and a half that I've been able to do that. And then there are some days like yesterday I fucked up. I don't know how I fucked up. Yesterday was I could just call them healing days, where all right, figure out what I'm going to do, what I'm going to take, what different modalities, breathing techniques, going for walks, vitamin D, all these dude, if you saw what's around me right now, I'm trying to like see what's in it's a fucking mess, and there's like an incredible amount of pills. Like today I took Bacopa, I took ginkgo boba, I took a thing that my friend just showed me about that is in periwinkle, and it's this weird fucking name. I don't know what it is. Vinpo, like, and the list is long. There's so many things. I have lion's mane mushrooms. The list is really, really long. I'm constantly trying to do cost benefit analysis for myself. And one of the things I fucking hate, one of the main reasons that I'm ever upset, I hate doing it alone. I fucking hate it. So whenever I see somebody promoting what I call an isolationist mentality of never seek validation, don't care what anyone else thinks, it fucking triggers the fuck out of me, and I am the raging elephant in the room at that moment. Yeah. Because of how dangerous these things are. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like I'm in kind of the bodybuilding and weightlifting sphere and stuff like that. Like obviously my avatar's a weightlifting dragon, and the stuff with Liver King. I don't know if you ever followed that, but that
yes. Decently aware of the scandal and a bit of the conversation. Continue.
Yeah. So the Zach Tellender and More Plates, More Dates video that they did on their takedown. I feel like you would enjoy their video on that a lot because
I love him. He's very scientific. He's very autistic. Go ahead. Yeah,
as it were. But anyway, with this one and PF Young, it is very it's interesting seeing him talk with Destiny and then seeing him kind of in his videos or do the other stuff, because obviously there's a big difference between like the way that you'll do a video, or if like you want to like engage a certain emotion. Obviously I can talk a little bit slowly, so like if I want to like exemplify something or like show a lot of effort, I can speed up my voice, I can make lots of cuts, I can like throw explosions and stuff, and it's interesting to see him.
You're trying to emphasize points. Go ahead.
Yeah. But it's interesting to see him in the discussion with Destiny, because he felt a little bit more muted than I've seen him before. I think would be his not necessarily
League of Politics series or
League of Politics, but even when he talks with JJ or anything like this, he seemed a little bit more reserved in this conversation.
Sure. I think that's because he sees the to some degree Destiny's Pell standard is higher than anyone he's ever seen. To even the degree that he judges, both of them judge Jordan Peterson on the different times where Jordan Peterson was better at forming judgments of truth, and then now is worse at it, right? I think that's the main reason why.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Jordan Peterson. Like, I took his Big 5 personality test when I was in 2018, 27. Yeah, whenever it first came out, I took his Big 5 personality test, and things like that. So that might be an interesting. I could send you the results if you.
Yeah, I'd love that. Like his whole know thyself thing. I think it's critical. Yeah. However, like it doesn't measure contempt, and I think like this is the thing we need to measure. And this is why, like, I'm just so curious as to like Jordan Peterson. It feels like he has cognitive dissonance that he doesn't know this. I saw him talk with Jimmy Carr, the comedian, and they talked about how like the number one indicator, it's very apparent when a husband and wife are going to divorce, it's their level of contempt for each other. Okay, well, why the fuck are we not measuring contempt? Why is that not inside of your know thyself thing? Why is this not like this is like, so I have like another document, this one right here. Did I show you? I haven't showed you this one yet, right? No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think you showed me this one.
So basically, because we're even good faith and bad faith avoiding each other's arguments, it increases an individual's tally for unfairness. That like, oh, this conversation is unfair for me. This person's constantly avoiding my arguments. Like the whole, all the ones you were talking about, like beating ourselves up against the head of the insurrection debates, and like the Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson arguing over truth. It's because the rates of these are like, this is just too high. That then increases. I wish I had a better term for this. I don't like how it's worded. I want something cleaner, but I'm like, you can even see here my moral foundations and how I label things. Accuracy is paramount. Nuance is extremely paramount. So I call it the lack of consideration behavior economy variable, but we could just call it the lack of consideration variable. But all of this is behavior economy. We're measuring. Know thyself is measuring different things, symptoms and motivations inside of your behavior economy. So then because a person says, well, yeah, my needs don't matter. That's why, like, here at the very beginning of this is these, like, I'm constantly trying to, with anything I'm trying to explain, is show the motivated reasoning subtext. So, like, here's some of these that just show this. Do I feel like we are a team trying to achieve the same goals using the same rule set? Can I trust you to take my concerns seriously, or will you avoid my arguments with a sweet tone? I assume...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that there's a short of Destiny doing that with the Canadian MAGA girl. That's what that reminded me of. Where
Lauren
he's like,
Southern?
You can't. No. I can't remember. She was like a caller or something, but she was.
Oh.
It was to some degree where she.
Oh,
she
you were
was
talking
like,
about the Twitter space, and it's her name is fuck.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He was like, you can't just sit. She's like, oh, I'm being so nice right now. And he's like, you can't say abhorrent things nicely. Go fuck yourself is effectively what he ended up saying. So that's what that made me think of. But yeah.
So one of the things so we were dealing with like the 0-0 problem, so many other things. I think, okay, so being on this path and being really focused on conversations in all areas of life and examining these things, like the sole focus. I have challenged myself. Okay, can I, with a fresh Google document, a fresh new video, just list and only describe to somewhere around like 30% of like the complexity of that thing, then go to the next thing? Can I list all of it? I've done 8-hour ones. I've done 6-hour ones. I constantly feel like I only am getting to like 20% of what I'm trying to get to. So like even that right there is like a thing that like, 2 days ago when my brain was working pretty good. Like today I'm around like 55%, but like 2 days ago I was around 70%. I really liked my ability that day. It was really, I liked it. But that morning,
well, if it's any consolation,
go ahead.
If it's any consolation, man, like get no reverberations of that. This is awesome. You're hand holding me through it all. Yeah, I wouldn't. There's no concerns on my end. This has been really awesome, and I'm really appreciative of all the work that you put in, and yeah.
I really appreciate you giving me the time and the space to be able to speak. I know I speak a lot. It's even one of the things that I'm constantly. I have a behavior economy checklist in my mind of like my brother, who I just rekindled with, so many people I've ever worked with, of like how much due to the rate of how much I'm talking versus them, and I want it to be even. And I just even go, how many times like this frustrates Destiny, where he feels like he's letting the other person talk for way longer than he ever does, so he's not able to get his ideas out.
Yeah, I know. I think that can be like a fair thing, but I think for me, as long as I feel like I've put my stuff forward, I'll be more than happy. And I think in a conversation like this, especially going through all of your stuff, if you're 90% of the talking, I'm not even going to be remotely concerned. Like I said, this has been awesome, a great learning experience for me. So just give her, man.
Yeah. So like, but even here, it's really fascinating. Get right into like the complex. Andrew Huberman talks about this, about like what we focus on, and this is like I said earlier, like whatever interests you, whatever enrages your elephant, let's go there, because this is where we produce like more levels of acetylcholine and many other neurotransmitters, and to do the function of the thing. And this is why I think that we have an incredibly terrible fucking view, though it's not completely wrong, of frustration and anger. Where we need to allow room for frustration and anger. I don't think we can have conversations over really complicated things like Israel versus Palestine, October 7th, and just no one's ever, as we're debating those things, no frustration, no passion, none of that. Like our tolerance level is 0% ever. Nope, never. And why? Well, because the first person that ever gets upset in a debate loses the debate, and we have that standard. So we greatly disapprove anyone ever showing any amount of emotion, and you can go to anyone on the left or Ben Shapiro's Fact versus Emotions, all these different things. So obviously there's that. I don't know if you've ever seen like Lauren Southern had like a counter argument, like feelings don't care about your facts. That one was real.
No, I watched a little, like I watched Lauren Southern's most recent video on Canadian immigration. And that's something that I want to respond to.
Because, interesting. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. It's like
Is it on Tenet? Is it on Tenet Media?
No, I think it was on her channel.
Okay.
But
go for it.
Yeah, I think it's like Lauren Southern mass immigration. Probably will bring it up. It's like a 30-ish minute video that she just put out. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Everybody.
Wait. Shit. No, go for it. You explain, and I'm gonna search for something. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, it's just it was a very her basically I disagree a fair bit with her positions, but because I don't think she's, like you said, I don't think she's doing a good job of actually explaining the situation. I've watched her debates with Destiny on immigration before, and she kind of makes the same positions of not really substantiating a lot of her claims, and then just approaching it from like immigration bad. How can I justify immigration is bad? And that's like, that is the loop. Again, kind of these strings of positions that fall from the core value. So, but
damn.
Yeah, what are you looking for specifically?
I think this is the one that I saw. I mean,
Okay.
I presume that a lot of her videos look like this because I haven't seen a lot of them recently. I only saw this one recently.
She hasn't posted in a while. She mentions it at like the very beginning of the video.
So I'm pretty sure this is where she goes into talking about how in her own immediate life, she's seen anecdotal evidence of relationships just falling the fuck apart, and then she gets into talking about communication being key, something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that. She's from Surrey, British Columbia, which has like a relatively high population of like Indian Canadians, and like she goes into like her anecdote there where she's like, well, we were forced out of our community because nobody could speak English or something to that degree. Which is weird, having lived in Vancouver in that area for like 10 years. Yeah, it was weird because it's so salient for me, because like I like literally lived in that area, or like, and lived around that and dated a girl from Surrey and things like that. And yeah, it was just weird to see her experience versus like anybody. Oh, gaslighting, holy shit.
So
yeah,
one of the core arguments, everyone's fucking terrible at arguing. Everyone's bad at it. There's ranges of good, but the overall like actual cost-benefit analysis at the end, both people involved trying to engage the battle of ideas with the other person, both people are so fucking bad at it, they're never going to reach a threshold of agreement to make a cooperative decision. So that form of warfare cannot be used. And this is why, like, at the very beginning of all of this, it's about the American experiment. Like, in order to measure the American experiment working, like, are we able to congress portions of truth? I think that as we're all speaking, we're speaking portions of truth. We're missing things and wrong all at the same time. And I don't care how much a person's an expert on something. It doesn't fucking matter. Like Albert Einstein thought that all the notion, again, if I'm missing anything wrong, framing anything, we'll absolutely go through it. But as far as my interpretation is that he thinks like all forms of quantum science were just batshit crazy ideas. Nothing is there. Is my interpretation of like his arguments. But this is like a constant thing throughout history. Like which person among us is the god in that fucking field of expertise that we all get to just bow before? Whatever they say is absolute dogma. We take it all at face value. None of us are doing any manner of having to criticize them because they're speaking from from on high about that thing. And I'm not saying that an incredible amount of people, whatever scientist you want to go to or average doctor, aren't saying some really good things that absolutely need to be steelman. And that's why like this whole thing is about creating the humanity correcting iron sharpens iron rule set that allows everyone in every fucking moment to be on everyone's side.
So yeah, it sounds like, I think it's called like it's like Nobel laureate syndrome. That's one of them.
Wait, what's that called?
I believe it's called Nobel laureate syndrome. Yeah, where they're empowered to speak on topics outside of their area of expertise, and things like that. So I think one of the examples is like kind of what you're stating here. There's also, I think it was Isaac Newton believed in a lot of alchemy, right? Like just like things like that. Well, like he was like super focused on like, how can I turn iron into gold type, outside of like obviously a nuclear technically.
So seeing the power in like woo-woo stuff of there is pharmacological things in plants when most of the... Go ahead.
Oh no, like I mean video game style, like Skyrim, like using magic to turn an iron bar into a gold bar. That was like the stuff that he was researching as well. And it's this idea that like these really smart people, these kind of Nobel laureate prize winners, anybody can overestimate their ability in another field because they're so intelligent and so smart in whatever field they're currently in, and so they apply that. And I think that's one of the issues that even that Jordan Peterson's been running into, especially when it comes to climate change and topics like that, is that he's smart in one domain, but that doesn't mean that he's smart in another domain.
Yeah, and it's where we're going to get into the problem of like the hasty judgment that the average person does, whether they follow a person. That well, all of that was true, so therefore all of this is true. But again, we need to measure the Pell stat. What was the Pell standard of the average person throughout the United States of America? I think it's always been abysmally low. It's always been around 1. Have you studied the French Revolution? The one with Maximilian Robespierre and stuff? Okay.
No, I had a friend recommend it's like a podcast about Revolutions podcast or something, but where he goes over like all the big revolutions. There's like the Haitian Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the French Revolution.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I haven't listened to it, but it was recommended.
Yeah, these would be interlocking circles that would be so fucking awesome to investigate. Like, there's another like a Netflix series, something about to doing with like tyrannical dictators, and they go through all these different times in nations and like how they use these key elements to maintain their power. It's really fucking interesting, because I think one of the most critical things we need to be able to measure, like if the American the very, very simplistic thing is, for the American experiment to work, are there any levels of thought control devices in our society? And if there are, the American experiment is not working anywhere to the degree of efficiency that it needs to. So cancel culture is a form of thought control. Not being able to criticize the leader is a form of thought control. Not being able to agree with the villain is a social pressure of a thought control device of everything that's why I have like, go ahead, please go.
Yeah, I was going to say, it kind of gets into a position that I think a lot of people forget about when we talk. Like, a lot of people will be like freedom of speech when they're talking about, like, for instance, why they should be able to talk on platforms or wherever they want. But I feel like a lot of people forget about freedom of association, and I'm wondering how that like interlines, because like, I think freedom of association is really interlocked with like Reddit communities, for instance.
Freedom of association would destroy guilt by association. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, and how like because I think freedom of association is an incredibly important freedom to have. It's
bring you in first.
It's you can see how that group polarization is kind of going to fight against some of these things that you're talking about, like and if we go even more level, I think a lot of people not necessarily don't care, but it's like, hey, like, I'm a carpenter and I kind of did my stuff in the day, I came home, I don't want to see any of this woke shit, I just want to like live my life, have my time. And there's a lot of people who just can't be bothered. They're like, why do I have to change any part of my life? Why do I have to change anything? Why do I have to engage with ideas that I disagree with? I don't really feel like it. That's a lot of work. That's like not fun. Right? Like all these things. And I guess how do you first, how would you engage with kind of the freedom of association aspect? Because like I said, I think it's really important to be able to, say, hey, like, I don't want to hang out with you, essentially, is the freedom of association, and kind of the subreddit culture that's created, versus the, hey, this is good, and you, even if you don't want it, it's probably beneficial to like have some level of dissent within whatever association you're creating, because otherwise you get like insane amounts of group polarization, and it just feels like those two fight against each other.
Yeah, extreme levels of echo chamber. Yep. Dude, like one of the reasons that, like, of everything that I've watched, like easily 80% of what I watch are scripted television shows and reality TV shows, and the most popular ones. So Gilmore Girls, Cobra Kai, like so many of the Netflix reality TV shows, especially the realty ones, where it's like Selling Sunset. One of them is, I think it's called Buying Beverly Hills or something like that, where the father owns the company, so he's the CEO. He has 3 daughters. They all work as agents there, selling homes, and there's like 2,000 employees. They're selling multi-million homes throughout the whole fucking world. One of the other, and this is the whole thing of like guilt by association, and you're not allowed to agree with the villain. So one of the women there, I can't remember her name right now, but she's trying to vie for that CEO position, seeing that at some point, you know, the father has stated that he's going to leave. The company, retire, etc. However long that is, we don't really have a timeline, but at some point. So she's arguing with 2 other people that work there, 2 guys, of like why she deserves that spot. I think that if we showed the average person, Democrat and Republican, we showed them the whole storyline of the conversation. So the first thing of where she brings the 2 guys in, she starts talking, and this is the whole thing of like, what's the difference between talking shit and constructive criticism? But she's talking shit about the 3 daughters, and can the average person actually show that they agree with anything that this woman says? We'll call her Rachel. I can't remember her name right now. And then there's like all the storyline of like the daughters confronting Rachel, then the daughters telling the dad, then the dad confronting Rachel. So the whole storyline. So we get the average Republican and Democrat to watch this whole storyline. I think maybe the whole thing encapsulates like maybe 15-20 minutes, something like that, like if you cut up just this particular storyline. And then the 3 daughters are present. They're fucking there. Because we get back into like the whole P.F. Chong versus Destiny, and they're talking about answering questions in front of Israeli settlers, like condemning Hamas, and we see the same fucking thing. The pressure's higher there because the stakes are higher, and we can see this thing being something we need to be able to measure. But I think the average person easily would only do a high-level contempt bias against Rachel, a high-level nice bias in judging all the girls, and I actually think Rachel makes an extremely good point. I don't think she articulates it very well, but it's the whole nepotism versus meritocracy, that to earn the seat, it shouldn't just be because you are an offspring or sibling or whatever it is, any manner of nepotism, connection of relationship, to earn a leadership role in a company, no matter high or low. And you should do it because of how good you are at the thing, and how good you are, you know, who's measuring your merit of like how good you can fulfill that role. And so she's arguing for that she can, and most likely the women can't, and they probably don't even have the motivation to do so. I think easily the average person would do incredibly, especially with those women there. Like they're asking the questions. Right? Like the daughters are asking the average person the questions after they watched it. Like, so what do you think about what Rachel said? Do you agree with anything they said? I think easily, like so many people, no, absolutely not. Fucking dude, she's batshit crazy. She's talking shit on you guys. I like, this is pressure of like force. It's something to do with like, I don't know. Anyways, you get the idea. And I think it's just constant. Like, that's why I have like this one pulled up right here where I remember Destiny watching this to some degree on his stream. And what happened when after Benny Morris talks and he's and Hassan's Mehdi's.
This is exactly the problem: is that he's a racist. He espouses these racist views. That's the problem with Israel.
Everyone that, I don't know this woman, but everyone that believes her and is on her side and sees her as any amount of a thought leader, a metaphorical Catholic priest, what are they supposed to do with Benny Morris's ideas? After she said labeled the pejorative. Yep.
You ascribe
all of his ideas are beyond the wall of taboo. They're never to be engaged in. Even if you do, you're supposed to only call them retarded or show how they're bad. They're so terrible and they're bad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So even if you do, you're half-ass playing devil's advocate.
Yeah. I think that's fair, and I guess reflecting on kind of what I was saying, kind of that Discord argument that I had, the loaded term of racist is it can make it really challenging to navigate. Even, I guess the issue is we should be able to use words if they truly describe what they're describing,
Yes.
right?
If I'm showing any range of hypocrisy, you need to be able to accuse me of hypocrisy. Yes.
Yeah. Or like if somebody is legitimately being racist, you can still say, hey, that is a racist thing to say. That is a racist thing to do. That was kind of my position of someone being like, look at their names, me being like, okay, they're all East Indian names. Like that is like, even if you're not racist, that statement is kind of racist in nature, because you're implying that because the names are non-white, that they're immigrants. And I was just trying to be like, hey, like we've had Indian Canadians in Canada since the 1900s. You can't determine if these are immigrants or not by their names. Like that's the term. And maybe you could argue that there's a better term than racist to use, but I kind of ran out of terminology. I was like, well, this describes it as,
to some degree, but to some degree, they're also right? Like the probability they're that they're immigrants is high, and so they have some notion of like to steelman them. There's some notion of what they're trying to say there, but they're again like you give a person an inch, you concede with them a little bit, and they make it a fucking mile. Like they make it way too big. Yeah. You're like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, what is the ratio here? Like you're probably talking like 5%, 10%. Like what is it? You're saying 100%. Right.
Yeah, and I was like, look, like a lot of them are younger. They're 23. There's stuff like that. Like the probability that these it could go either way. And I basically just said, I don't know, right? I'm happy to be like, the answer is I don't know, dog. Like maybe it is. Maybe you're 100% right. But what I'm saying is you can't say, like you can't be in the affirmative on this position. And again, maybe it is like there's an argument to be just more tactful, right? And just not even engage with a term that is so morally loaded as racist or racism, even if it probably has like good use in that context, because there's just way too much wrapped up in it. And I think Destiny had talked about that before, of calling Hamas terrorists, even if it's true, just isn't a helpful terminology when we're describing this, because people apply so many other operators to that, like rather than you or I or him could just be like, okay, yeah, they're terrorists anyway, we still have to negotiate with them, we still have to do all these things, and no, you can't negotiate with terrorists, how dare you, they're terrorists, blah 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 blah, right? Like and so it may be that like as much as it's kind of thought policing yourself, it's just like, I don't want to have to get into this with like morally loaded terms, because it just derails an otherwise good conversation unless we're on the same wavelength of like, yeah, these terms are fine, let's move on.
Yeah, I think, did you watch Gorka versus Destiny?
I don't think
you're fine.
So.
You're fine. Let me pull it up. So I had never known who Gorka was. It was on Trigonometry.
Gork and Mork, yeah.
Gorka, I don't know what that is.
Oh, Gork and Mork are gods in Warhammer. They're the orc
gods
of
really? Fucking love that, dude. Yeah, go ahead.
I do a lot of I like Dungeons and Dragons, so that's why it's dungeons, deadlifts, and decarbonization.
Okay. So is Warhammer then big?
Warhammer is. It has enough lore that you can steal it for Dungeons and Dragons, and so I've DM'd for a long time, almost basically since COVID. So I guess not a long time, but like 4 years now, and the like using gods to I guess stereotype NPCs is like really common, because like I have to make a whole bunch of NPCs. I have to do things on the fly. So knowing a religion and being able to stereotype that religion and be like, oh, you're talking to a person who follows whoever, like Gozra, like the god of like the sea and oceans and stuff. So I can just like pull their edicts and anthemas, which is basically kind of their moral philosophies of that god, and then apply it to the individual that I'm using in a D&D sense. And I think D&D helped me a lot with some of these terms, because I could make super in-depth characters which would take me hours and hours and hours as a DM, or I can have general archetypes in my head, and then when those situations come up, I just apply those archetypes to those characters. And I think that maps on to a lot of this of just like, oh, you're a racist. I can just apply these archetypes. I can apply these systems to you, and then I don't have to think about it any deeper.
With the conflation problem of where like the biggest offenders is ascribed to like a whole group of people. As soon as you meet somebody, you're one of them. Got it. And you know who they are, and that right there, a person is being prejudiced. Prejudice only means prejudging. So judging somebody and knowing who they are without investigating. And even that, in that investigation, you're definitely going to see some overlap with the rest of the group, that whatever it is that, you know, that they're a part of. But you're not looking for any of the differences to see if they have anything to offer of better arguments from that group. Maybe they're the best, one of the best people that have more articulation as to what their group is about, and you're conflating the worst idea, you know, the worst representatives onto them, and that right there would be an intellectual sin that we're doing in being prejudiced. But there's this problem with conflation of words. Like, I really feel like the word racism has destroyed, swallowed up prejudice and bigotry, because even if a person is 100% not racist in any way, shape, or form, they can absolutely still do high levels of prejudice and bigotry just over different lines. Like, overwhelmingly, the average person is not, I think, sees that, like, absolutely, I don't want to be racist, and being racist is bad. So overwhelmingly, the average Democrat and Republican are not racist, so they do not want to be racist. But we're allowed to hate. So instead of hating people across ethnic lines, we're allowed, or sexist lines, we are allowed to hate the ideological opponent, though. And I think that's damaging. I think that's terrible. I think that manufactures contempt, because we have this motivated reasoning of, I hate you. Like, have you seen like Ben Shapiro and Tom McDonald's Facts song lyrics?
Oh, their song, yeah. Honestly, it's a little, it's terrible.
It's so fucking cringy. Terrible. It's so like, fucking bad. I love Ben Shapiro. I think Tom McDonald makes a lot of good points, but this is terrible. Imagine you and I are about to debate so like the whole Destiny thing of of Finkelstein and Paul's ego, and then Destiny's trying to get Paul's ego to see like this bad behavior of motivated reasoning of Finkelstein being in a 5-hour debate on Lex Friedman on a really high stakes issue like Israel versus Palestine. Right? So if you and I are about right now to that level of stakes as something, we're about to debate that. And before that, I say, I hope I offend you. I was put here to upset you. I don't care if I offend you. I'm the man, and I don't respect you. The fuck, dude? Like that. Yeah. So I have this thing called the Metaphorical Mexican Standoff, and hopefully I'll be able to find it here. Shit. No, it's easier to find it here. Yeah. So the reason I was bringing up the Gorka versus Destiny, in this debate, this is an extremely good. Whoops. Hold on, let me pause it. This is an extremely good example of the Metaphorical Mexican Standoff. And again, I think I challenge me. I think we can see this in extremely high levels of like everywhere in life. And yes, there are going to be areas where it's not. But we're looking at like a chart of like how, you know, what is the ratio? And I think the ratio for this is extremely high, and it's more often than not where, so you is Destiny, the other is Gorka. Destiny only wants to talk about the good ideas and behaviors of Destiny and Biden, and the bad of Gorka and Trump. Gorka only wants to engage in the bad of Destiny and Biden, and the good of Gorka and Trump. They do not want to ever acknowledge the other two sides. So I call them there's 4 sides of judgment. Like I have another one, and it's a pretty dense document, so I'm just gonna try and like go to like when I judge you and you judge me, there's basically, you're up here, so you're person A up here, and you have your range of bad ideas, right? You have your range of bad behaviors. You have your range of good, your range of bad. So this is, this is just one. So one's light is one side. To simplify it, it's just 4 sides. Then, so you have 2 and I have 2. I have my range of light and dark. You have your range of light and dark. And then and the metaphorical mechanism standoff, I only want to engage, and what triggers this? And I think it's because of, one, the contempt of motivated reasoning, that I want to exaggerate your bad and downplay your good, and you see that. So this is that whole game theory video. Were you able to watch that, the Veritasiums?
Like I said, last night went a little bit later than I expected.
You're
I started
totally fine.
I started
Totally fine.
I'm 7.5 minutes through. I literally have it up on my other screen.
Oh, nice.
But I'm at least aware enough of it. But yeah.
So this gets into like this whole other. Let's see. Like I have to skim over shit.
Your DOD. It's a DOG, right?
Acts of defection.
Defection.
Here. I was trying to get to here. Okay. So basically, the whole theory for game theory of what we see as our judgment, and then our ability from those judgments. And it's, are you doing what I want? So from the whole game theory thing of act of defection or cooperate, whether or not I want to do that, I'm saying in my mind, are you, as we interact with one another over anything, are you doing what I want? Are you playing fair when you judge me, you judge yourself, and you judge the enormously, so the science and religion? Then what level of care and or contempt, because a person could definitely have levels of, it doesn't mean like as soon as I have 2% level of contempt for you, that's it, I care about anything you want or need ever. So it does get complicated, but I'm trying to just like show like immediate solutions. When we cast righteous judgments, we are casting great love, and then casting condemning judgment. And this is where we get into a lot of actions that a person is pattern recognizing that I think triggers the metaphorical Mexican standoff, where contempt is the fuel source. And contempt very specifically is the feeling that a person is beneath consideration, worthless, or deserving scorn. In order for us to, if you and I are going to do the highest level intellectual maturity thing of reaching thresholds of agreement, and you and I are going to debate whatever topic it is, carbon tax or any other enormously complex topic that has so many different incredibly complex working variables that also change either real time or over decades, what is the one thing, there's a lot that we need there, but like the biggest one we need is I need to be able to consider I'm wrong and you're right. And I need to take the time to be able to ponder and consider any of those things, which is valuable resources, which in the first little part of that video, I love that he brings up and shows impalas on the savannah, and to do the act of cooperation of just licking each other to get ticks off is legitimately, he brings in all these different variables of you're risking predators, you're giving your finite resources of the energy expenditure of doing the action for the other person, saliva, all these different things are being measured as a cost to do the action that we need to be able to see. So in consideration in this process, I mean, imagine, like, did you just watch Destiny's focus group thing where like it was like 7 hours of explaining that whole thing? I mean, look at that time, that effort. And even after that, what happened to those, all of the people immediately that were there, all of those, what are they called?
Yeah,
I was trying to say influencers. Influencers.
Yeah, influencers.
They're all they're all YouTubers.
Mostly.
They're all YouTubers to some degree, right? So, like that night, they're swirling through all the ideas being presented by Destiny. The next day, the next week, due to the enormous complexity of one, like how many different variables there are to work through. Two, the just the level of the stakes, the problem, like is democracy at threat, and then who's culpable, and like all this distribution of blame and all these different things, like just so much fuel source of care to consider, to ponder, to investigate, to discover all these different intellectual action endeavors. And here we can see just spite. I desire to hurt or offend you. Disrespect, the feeling that a person is beneath consideration, worthless. I mean, what the fuck? Oh, I fucked up there. I need to go Google this. Disrespect now, but beratement, destructive criticism, holier than thou, willful ignorance, mockery, condemnation, censure. I have been both inside of Destiny's Discord server a few times, and then trying to show people that there is value in these actions. I'm agreeing with them that there is value in these actions of like mockery and dehumanization and all these other things. However, the harm is higher than you're equating here. So when they're looking at this right here, they think they see this. They think that it's just like the whole Cam versus Mitchell. Mitchell for the Ferberizer method I think he sees this, that even if there's harm, the value is so good. So same thing with mockery. I think that they see this. And I think it's this, and I'm trying to convince them of the harm. That's why, I was bringing up the.
I think.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think there's also the other side of whether you're looking at it as a system or the person. It can feel really good on that side, right? For them, even if the outcome is worse, you've galvanized the person you're arguing against, you've galvanized their audience, you've done all these things. It feels good to be like, fuck you, you piece of shit, right? It's strengthening. Galvanize is like, you've like,
okay.
So I've galvanized them against me, right? Like galvanizing steel is like,
I love it because so much of this is actually like these metaphorical structures that we make. Like my email is logical constructs at Gmail, and like dude, even this document right here, this document that is only 57 pages, I have been trying to make the same document so many different times, literally so many different names. It used to be called Everything Everywhere All at Once. I used to call it the Fairness Doctrine for Humanity. I've got it so many different things, and I've recreated it so many times because it's like I think of it like, hold on, Aria, like each of these things are like, imagine a room. In that room, there's one table. On that table, there's a Lego set, and you've all these Lego pieces, and you've taken the Lego pieces and you've constructed your argument for whatever it is, what racism is, what liberalism is, just any complex scientific, religious, moral philosophy, I think it always comes down to cost-benefit analysis of morality for every fucking topic. I don't care what it is. I think that it always comes down to that, and you're constructing your thing, and how strengthened is it? Like, how strong is the argument? Are there flaws where the whole thing will destroy itself? But due to the enormous complexity of the thing, and I'm not trying to do this myself. It's just so complicated. It's hard for me to go back into those rooms and start off where I was. Quite often, it's just easier to recreate it new because I see it from a different way and different framing. Like I've even gone out and purchased better Lego construction sets that have more rigidity to them because I've figured out X, Y, and Z moral philosophy that I missed before. And it's just so hard to go back to the other ones, destroy them with a fucking hammer, and then rebuild them. It's easier just to recreate the document.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does your daughter use it? We can take a break.
Yeah. Also, what is your time like? We're now 2.5 hours in, and I'm good to go for as long as we need.
I love this stuff. I'm also happy to have more and multiple conversations over the coming weeks and everything. I've really been enjoying this. I think there's a lot for me to think of. Like, you probably saw my best side with the soy idol debate. Even the buck debate, I think I was nice, but like I can be, and I have been these things: spiteful, disrespectful,
absolutely,
angry,
same. Oh, absolutely,
holier than
yeah.
thou. Like, like the stuff with the.
I still do it on a daily basis. Like I'll play somebody in StarCraft 2, and I'm like calling them a coward in chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the it's the Star Wars meme, die trash, right? Like
yeah.
So but yeah, if you think this is a good stopping point, and you have some personal stuff to get at,
no, she's just asking a question, and it might be like something she just wants something real quick. That's all. She knows. I've already prepped her with that. Today I have to work. I have to get these ideas out, and I have like a long task list of things I need to get done. This is just one of the many. But this is awesome. Like I even think this is a good okay. So go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say like I said, I can't describe how like appreciative I am of you putting, obviously to do the document for me, but just like putting this level of time and effort and care into this, and like taking the time to chat with me. Like,
thank you.
And talk about these things. Like, yeah, man. Like whatever you need.
Explaining it to somebody else really fucking helps. It's so hard for me to just monologue into a camera.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
Yeah,
like and that's why I was constantly pulling a 2 to try and meet where you're at. Whatever enrages your elephant the most, I want to go there.
Yeah,
because that keeps you interested, and it's usually what the audience will see of like. Dude, Thorsen's saying X, Y, and Z things, and I'm really upset. He's triggering me, and then you are like representing them to some degree of like you're asking the question, and you're like he's Destiny so many times. He's like, oh, like ask this. Why are you not asking this? Why are you not asking this? Like that, you're fulfilling that void of being in the conversation to help me go to places. You get the idea.
Yeah, and I would, like I said, especially in this case, there's a lot of places of ignorance when it comes to kind of these philosophical ideas. I never took philosophy. I've read
same here. I'm so ignorant. Like even the books you've talked about before, and I'll refer to Jonathan Haidt. Dude, I have read like 2 fucking books, and I'll explain why that is in a second. Just let me see what she needs.
Yeah.
She just wants her kombucha drink in the fridge. So you say we were about you were saying, and I'll be right back. I can hear you.
Oh, okay, dope. I was just gonna say that. Like I've read a few books on this topic to try to like engage with it, but like you can read as many books in the world, but if it's not like sticking with you or learning or I've found for me, especially the way that I learn, a lot of it is having to write things down and having to express it in a way either through discussion or through writing this stuff down. And that was part of the reason for my channel is I had like researched so many of these things and collected all this stuff, but like never put a pen to paper. And then also was in this position of like, there's a lot of like things going wrong in Canada, and there's a lot of not wrong in the like the world is going to end, but like, hey, we have a housing crisis and people are blaming what are seemingly the wrong things or the like 5% problems, or they're applying kind of their motivated reasonings and their positions to like a situation where I'm like, holy shit, like we need to actually work on the existing problem, or else like there's I don't know if you've seen there's a chart in Canada and it is atrocious. I'll show you the
for housing.
For housing in Canada, like I know it's bad in the States, but this is a terrifying chart.
Okay, yeah, let me see it
to look at. So
okay.
Let me.
Good. Something that enrages your elephant. Let's fucking go.
Oh yeah, 100%. Do I not? Oh, there's show chat. Okay, weird. It was.
Dude, by the way, like that. Just real quick, like that makes me think of like Destiny's Like, I just remember her like, oh man, I can't remember the instance. I'll remember it in a second. But like, he's just like, I'm so triggered. I'm so triggered. I'm so triggered. I'm so triggered.
Oh yeah. Like
I can't help
this
myself. I can't help myself. And then he goes right back in. Oh, it was Connor. It was the Connor Pisco 3 versus 3 debate, litigation conversation on the Twitter space. But all right, go ahead.
This chart is horrifying. That's how much Canadian disposable incomes, essentially just like real wages, have real wages basically increased by 27%.
Disposable income. So this is just the average median income of everyone, right? Is that what that means?
Yeah, the real disposable income, so adjusted for inflation.
But this is like just the amount of money everyone makes, right? There's no. Is what they're actually getting every month.
And
That they could pay for their phone bills and all the other things that we need to pay for. That's exactly. Okay. Because I am novice in many areas, and I'm just trying to make sure that I'm formulating. Good ideas.
I would argue a better chart would be real wages.
Oh fuck!
Than
that's scary.
Income.
Yeah.
But
that's really fucking
regardless,
scary.
it still shows the general point. I have the actual data on that I've like plotted, but it shows about the same result. So disposable income or real wages are basically the same. In this case, in terms of the giant discrepancy between housing prices and how much we made it. So in 2000, when I was 5 years old, would have been a great time to buy a house.
Good God! Yeah, look at that overlap.
Yeah.
How low measure of fucking health? You could buy a goddamn house, motherfucker. Right?
Yeah.
That's what that says right there, right? Okay.
So the y-axis is showing the relative change in prices. So like if you were to insert price $200,000, then
why is the vertical one?
Is the percentage change. So say we use the $200,000 case at being our baseline for 100. Then if we go to 2021, it's about 400. So you multiply it 400%. So you multiply it by 4, right? So that $200,000 house is now worth 800,000, for instance. So that's how you would read this graph. So if you pick any point on the graph, you would draw a line across, and that the number on the y-axis is going to tell you the percentage multiplier by whatever original value you're taking. So to compare these, for instance, in 2000, you'll draw a line across. It's going to be about 125%. If you're to draw a perfect line from about we can use 1999.
Right here.
So no.
200,000, I thought you said?
Oh, sorry. No. Sorry, that's 200%. The left-hand axis.
Oh, this is percent, not 200,000.
That's that's the multiplier.
Okay.
That's the multiplying effect. So whatever number you're using, you just apply the multiplier to it. So all the data is normalized so that you can make because obviously wages and housing prices would be so much different. This way, they're all normalized.
Right. That the houses aren't 400,000 and everyone's making 200,000.
No. It's that. So if we compared in 1999, so you draw a line straight up to where you hit the red line, and then you draw a line straight across, it's about 125 to the y-axis. So draw just go straight with your mouse to the left once you hit the red line from 1999.
Sure.
And so that's the percentage value. So it's 125 about. And then if we look at wages, it's also about 125. Awesome. Then we go to 2021. We at the very end of the chart, just the very edge. That's just a recession. That's just showing where the recessions happen. But if you go to the black line up there, and then you draw your line across, you can see that our wages have increased from 125 to about 190, let's say, right? 125 to 190, and then you can see housing, if you go to the same position, has increased from 125 to about 400. So that's talking about the proportionality of how housing has become so unaffordable, right? Because let's say in 1999 we had a $200,000 house. Well, that $200,000 house is now worth basically the proportional ratio of those things. But like,
you okay? You okay? Okay. fine. She just dropped something. I thought something happened. Go ahead.
But now that house is worth close to 3 to 4 times what it was. So kind of the $600,000 to $800,000. But your wages, maybe you were making $50,000 a year. Now maybe you're making $75,000. Let's say.
Right.
Right. And so the issue is that the proportional change that's happened in the housing market is unbelievably high. And it is, people call it a bubble, all these things. And I get really, really angry, like you're talking about, when people are like, oh, this is immigration's fault, or this is this fault, or this is some like single problem. And I'm like, no, we're never going to solve this problem if we don't understand. And one of the big issues that like drives this problem, in my view, is that pick one. Do you want housing to be a vehicle for investment, or do you want housing to be affordable? Because you cannot hold those two values and those two ideas in the same hand, right? It would make absolutely no sense to have affordable housing if you want it to be an investment. Does this look more like an investment or more like it's affordable? Well, pre-2000, it looked affordable. Post-2000, it looks a lot more like an investment. And there's like a number of reasons for that. It goes into like monopolies, people protecting their investment. The way that our housing policies work here is that they're mostly determined by municipalities. So people vote in things that monopolize the housing market, that drive up the prices, right? These are all things you would expect people to do if they want their housing prices to increase as an investment, not be affordable. And if we can't have a conversation about why the housing crisis is happening, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, because like people like me who are engineers are like well off, or like not like struggling or in an insane place. The people at the median are getting fucked really, really hard because they can barely afford it. And I look at this this like kind of American dream. I've kind of relegated myself to, I may never be able to have kids or afford to have kids because of these housing markets and these things like this. And this is like where my anger comes from on this situation of like, we're not blaming the right problems.
Yes.
But yeah, anyway,
this is why, like, Destiny's most recent arc with the whole firefighter thing, right?
Oh, that's the guy who got shot, right?
Yes. So him going on Piers Morgan, saying, no, I'm not going to denounce these different actions that I did myself, with Dave Rubin and other people there. Did you see this? This is like, I think a couple days after that.
Oh,
so this is
maybe. Oh yeah, this is when he was like, "Sorry,
not Elon Musk." Not Elon Musk brings him into Twitter Space to debate with Prodigal, right?
Yeah,
Jesus Christ! You got the skin complexion of Uncle Fester.
Entire plot hinged on the idea that they could challenge the constitutionality of established law. Constitutionality exists above the law. The fact that peaceful doesn't matter when you're trying to overturn the election results.
Matter?
But anyway, just to be clear, you guy that got shot at the rally, this is why I don't give a about showing sympathy. This is why I don't give a This is why I don't give a about the sympathy for any of you losers, because you won't own up to anything.
Don't take it out on me, because your wife left you, Fester.
Nobody is talking about my ex. All right.
Ideological conflict has to be resolved. And if there is, if my claim is true, that even very good faith people are legitimately not caring for things that avoid the argument that the other person, so you're contributing to the lack of consideration variable. How many times Destiny has, with good faith, goodwill, gone into debates with Republicans on many, many different topics, over and over and over and over again? This is the end result. You will manufacture contempt for them. Anyone will do this. This is why I can go to any interpersonal relationship, and that's why I brought up that Lauren Southern thing. Our relationships are falling apart because people are told, "Hey, don't use emotional coercion. Don't use emotional manipulation. Don't gaslight. Don't be a narcissist. Don't use violence to get what you want. Don't use threats of violence." And I agree with all those things. So they're told, use your words. But then they're literally taught less than 5%. I don't think I'm even coming close to being any amount. It might be lower than less than 5%. Our K through 12 education very specifically teaches an extremely low levels of critical thinking methods. So the virtues, the strengths of everything from inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning, to a long list of things, Socratic method. There's a long list of things here that are virtues that are be taught of how to analyze information, like univariate analysis or multivariate analysis, to be able to understand the statistics of that form your then conclusions as to gender wage gap. Are we an incredibly misogynistic society, or is it the misogyny actually only 2% of the fucking problem? Again, getting to your thing of what is the ratio, what is the actual problems of what are the thing that we're seeing. So not only are they not taught a long list of critical thinking methods, and of course, there's also these human pitfalls, these logical fallacies. And so not only are they not taught these things, I think academia also has been dropping the fucking ball. As far as I can tell, we have not iterated epistemological, axiomatic, logical processes in like 200 fucking years. I think one of the only ones we've ever iterated was we went from devil's advocate to steel manning. And the reason we do that, obviously, is because the framing of knowing what to do, my action for my motivated reasoning, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate for you, thinking you're the devil and let me see what good you have here. I'm steel manning you because I know I need to make your argument as good as much as you make it. And if I can, I make it better than you. Yeah.
I fully agree. I think that's why I liked P.F. Young's like original, where he ranked the original video on League of Politics, where he like ranked kind of how your arguments align. Oh yeah. He's like, if you're a diamond ranked
okay,
debater,
love
essentially,
it.
Like you steal man arguments. You do that, yeah.
Oh, I fucking love it, dude. I love it. That's why, dude. Listening to Paul, P.F. Chong, and Destiny in that thing so many times, I'm hurting my brain trying to understand. Like when he says that his League of Champions, League of Politics, they're not logical tools. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Like they are in so many good ways. Like I've only seen a few of them. I saw the one on Vosh. Like literally anyone that hates Vosh, that has irrational views against Vosh, thinks Vosh are the bad people with bad ideas, and he's showing, hey, look at the good in his side of his argument. You're literally steelmanning a person's positions, helping them see logically, oh gosh, I'm wrong. And to some degree, I'm wrong. And Vosh has better ideas than I thought he did. So now my understanding of how good or bad this person is different. Same thing with Destiny, same thing with Trump. Doesn't matter who it is. Yeah.
So I am, like I said, I'm loving this conversation. I'm really appreciative. My girlfriend just texted me and said, I'm dying of a hangover. I need you to come help me.
Sure. Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I don't know if this is probably not the best place to cut it off. Like I said, I'm still
good
to keep chatting, but yeah, I think it was like his original League of Politics, where he basically says like, bronze rank, diamond rank, uses like the League of Legends ranking system.
That's awesome. Exactly I love it. I love it so much.
Go down a little bit more. It's not the expansion packs.
Break down the best.
What online politics is like at every rank? It's that video.
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll watch it. I love it, man.
Cool, man.
Sweet. Yeah, okay. You go take care of your girlfriend, and just let me know when you want to chat again.
Yeah, 100%. I really enjoyed this. I think that there's definitely a lot for me to think on. I may or not post it on my channel.
Sure.
If you're good with that.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if that
absolutely
was the reason you were
absolutely post if you want.
But
yep.
Because I think there's a lot of really good information on this. I might cut it to like the more important points, but if I do any cuts or edits, I will give you
sure. Trying to represent. Sure.
It would just be like cutting out any silences or
sure.
like that would mostly be it. I would also blur out anytime your daughter walked in. I tried to write down the times that happened, but
Sure. No problem. No, it's fine. In fact, like the videos I've been making recently, like the picture I used to put on YouTube is her. Like I want people to know my 10 out of 10 thing I'm trying to create a better world so that she doesn't have to suffer like we are suffering right now. That's my 10 out of 10 motivation for all of this. But if you have a Gmail account, I will share the whole folder, all the diagrams, documents. I just asked, like, don't edit anything directly. Just copy it to a no folder, make it yourself, and then edit shit. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. It is. Just grab the copy. There is my email. You have my YouTube channel as well. That you've seen, and we're both kind of linked. You're on the Discord. You didn't actually tell me your YouTube channel name.
Yeah. I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Just so that I can keep following the stuff you do.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good, man. It's great. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, buddy.
All right. See ya.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.